What is going on, everyone? Welcome into the College Football After Dark here on the Voice of College Football. First, thanks for joining, but please make sure you hit that like button. It helps the show a lot. If you're a first time here or you haven't yet, make sure you also subscribe, as Mark has a ton of team channels as well as the SEC and Big Ten channel. So there's something for everyone if you're a fan of the community of college football. Also, please, this upcoming Saturday, September 2nd, on September 2nd at 3:30 Eastern, Mark will be hosting a watch party for all the Patreon and channel members. So make sure that you join in and become a member or join the Patreon here using the link in the description below, or we will be posting it on the screen during the show. So make sure you go and join, and we'll be having a watch party this next Saturday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. And also, I hate to say it, for those of you here who know Traveling Fools, he is having a family matter going on, bit of an emergency situation. So please keep him in your thoughts. There's also a GoFundMe that's been set up to help him during this time. So if you feel so inclined, first and foremost, if you can, reach out to him, but keep him in your thoughts. But we're going to post the GoFundMe for him in the chat. So if you can, go help him out. Even $1 helps. It goes a long way. You never know. As it starts adding up, it goes a long way. So it can make a huge difference. But I think we know what we're all here for. So now let's get into it. And we have our usual suspects here. Of course, Jordan, the Clemson man himself. How you doing, Jordan?
I'm doing awesome, man. Just recovering from yesterday. I was a little tipsy by the end of last night, so I just spent the rest of the day, the rest of the weekend, just relaxing, chilling. I got work tomorrow in the morning. I really shouldn't be doing this show this late, but in the Eastern time zone, you Westerners are, get the luxury. So, but I love doing this show, and we have college football back, so this is my first opportunity to talk about actual games being played.
Isn't that the whole point? It's week 0, but hey, it's real football. At least something's happening. We don't have to relive highlights again. Spaz, how are you doing tonight?
Doing good.
Looks like you're feeding your face.
Excited for college football to be back. Football, period. Hot dog conundrum.
What about you, man, old Matt?
I'm doing great. I'm glad to be here. I'm here to share my limited expertise in the sport of college football. And I've been chomping at the bit ever since Michigan crapped the bed against TCU, and I'm ready for another season.
There you go. Looking at a little redemption this year? I
hope so. I feel like the season is kind of going to be like a natty or bust type of season. I personally got that inkling that Harbaugh is going to be gone one way or another after this season. I obviously could be wrong. I got that gut feeling. I know it's been talked about several times, obviously, but with the Cheeseburger Gate scandal, it's a little flustering to me, considering schools like Tennessee, schools like that are, handing, bags of things to players that will not be discussed. And allegedly. They are getting slaps on the wrist, allegedly. And they're getting slaps on the wrist. And Steve Dace, Mark's partner, said it best never mind. You made me lose my train of thought, brother.
Well, you'll have to see. Maybe you can get a title out of it at least.
That's what I'm hoping for. Just because I feel like the NCAA does not like him, and I really just want to have to make them get up on stage and hand him a championship title and shake his hand while he's got that stupid grin on his face. I think it would be the greatest thing ever. And then he just goes into the sunset and joins the NFL. I'm totally okay with that.
You think Harbaugh's leaving again?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, we say it every season, and I could obviously be blowing smoke, but this year I just got that gut feeling,
Natty or bust, or he's gone.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't. I pretty much think he's gone regardless. Yeah, I hate Michigan's like the one school that like, or not the one school, one of the few schools that still like gives a crap about what the NCAA has to say. Like in my personal opinion, I think they should just tell them to shove it and let Harbaugh coach against Missouri School for the Blind and whoever else they're getting ready to play in the first 3 weeks. That's something else. I don't want to go off on a tangent because we have other stuff to talk about, but the 4 head coaches that they're doing for the first 3 games is a little obnoxious in my opinion. I think they should have just named one guy and kept with it, but then at the same time, it is kind of making a mockery of the whole situation. And I personally love stirring the pot. So keep going, Jim.
Yeah, that's what it seems like he's doing with that. Oh, here, you want to play games? Oh, here, let me play a game with you.
Mm-hmm.
Name 18 coaches they're going to.
Yeah, we're gonna do a self suspension of 3 games, and you can either take it or leave it. Is like they're kind of forcing the hand, and hopefully they don't make them sit 3 games next year since they're going to have Texas at home, and that's actually going to be a big game. All right,
Well,
I'm gonna get off my soapbox here.
well, no, I was about to say, thinking about that, there is a lot to talk about, especially one of your favorite teams that you play once in a while. They might be known as the Golden Domers, those people over there, because we did have Notre Dame versus Navy in Dublin, and I don't know if it went as pretty much as everyone thought it would go exactly. I'm not completely surprised, but I mean, give me your thoughts. How do you think it went? Do you think it was more Notre Dame or more Navy? Like how it went?
Well, I think the first thing we need to address is why the hell Notre Dame didn't wear green jerseys to this game. That's kind of like that. That was my number one gripe. Like, I mean, we could talk about the game. We'll talk about the game, but first things first. Like, I mean, that was a missed opportunity. Like, I thought that was something that was like as obvious as it could have been, and they dropped the ball because Notre Dame likes doing that. But I don't understand why they didn't wear green jerseys.
Sounds like Jordan's just still a little sore about that last year's game.
I'm not even talking about that. It's a marketing opportunity. You're sending Notre Dame and you're sending your nation's best overseas across the ocean to play a game, and the school literally identifies with the people of that region and all of that, all the cultural stuff that goes into that, the Catholicism. And they didn't really lean into it as much as I thought they would. That was kind of disappointing. So I thought that should have been something they should have done. But I don't know.
What do you think, Spaz?
Twice you got me. I agree with Jordan there. I was kind of shocked that they didn't wear green uniforms in Ireland. I mean, that kind of threw me off to begin with. But I thought overall, poor Navy. They look that was brutal beyond I don't know what. And that Sam Hartman can still throw a ball, and he's putting himself right there in contention with Notre Dame. I did not think they were going to be that strong, but they looked pretty good from what I saw.
I'm personally on the fence on whether it was Notre Dame or whether it was Navy, mainly because of the size differential of the offensive and the defensive lines. I mean, with Navy, they have to have certain weight requirements still as far as how much you can weigh. So I'm assuming Notre Dame's players were outweighing each of them by 40 to 50 pounds each. And that is a huge deal. I mean, they were creating lines that estimate was just running through like a Mack truck. Like, I mean, my big old butt could have ran through those lines with the way they were blocking yesterday. And I run a 40 and by 7.2. So we don't know how I feel about Navy or Notre Dame. I mean, the true test is obviously going to be when Ohio State comes in town. And I don't know how that's going to go. Obviously, we'll have to see what they look like in a couple of weeks as well.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. We're not trying to dig here too, because also the other noticeable thing is our Notre Dame guy's not here. But I mean, that gives us more leeway to badmouth Notre Dame. He won't be here to defend them, but yeah.
Well, I'll defend them. I want them to kick Ohio State's butt, so I'll defend them.
Okay.
That's fair.
But yeah, I'm the same as you. I don't know if it was like last week. I remember I said, is Navy even going to be good? So again, what if Navy literally goes 1-11 this season again or whatever? It's like, I mean, Notre Dame has to play who they have on their schedule. So Notre Dame went, they played what they do, and Notre Dame, in all respect, they're not going to beat up a service academy. No one's going to go purposely try to humiliate a service academy.
Right.
No, we don't want them to, obviously.
But
And I'll say this too: is Notre Dame is going to have to win games like this almost all season if they're going to go anywhere near the CFP. They're going to have to beat everybody 42-10.
yeah,
Because they
and
don't have anybody.
well, and I'll say this about Notre Dame's performance. I mean, it's easy to kind of overreact about the performance, and it's like, oh, they looked really good, and I think, I mean, when you compare it to last season, they played Navy last year, and it was a very competitive game. It was, I think Notre Dame pulled it out by like 3 points or something like that. So I think you've seen the improvement so far. I think this team, at least with Sam Hartman in there, it seemed like just things were in structure. It wasn't like he was making all these wow plays and throwing it all over the field and anything like that. He was efficient. He looked comfortable in the offense, and I think that kind of spread to the rest of the team. So I think that's something that I think that's something that this team desperately needed last year that they now have this year. And the offensive line, Notre Dame probably has top 2, 3 best, probably a top 2, top 3 offensive line in the country. Between Joe Wald and Blake Fisher, Zeke Correll, like they have dudes on that line. And the running backs, Audric Estime he's a stud at running back. I think this Notre Dame receivers for the most part looked better than we've seen in a minute. I think all of that I think this team is definitively better than last year's team. It's just how much better are they? Are they a college football playoff team? We still got to see more.
Well, and that's why with Navy too is like, did Navy take a slight decline because of course they're now in a new coach. Yes, he was the DC for a while, but like we have. I mean, and look, I will admit, like Sam Hartman, there was a comment there earlier. He was calm, cool, and collected. This is his 6th year. I mean, he knows what he's doing. There was 3 specific plays, 2 touchdown passes where he threw it just in front of his receiver, past the defender, perfect placement. And then he escaped 1 sack and ran and then tossed it over the top. And I was like, that's an experienced guy. He knows what he's doing. But yeah, Navy's, we discussed this before the show. Navy's defense, I don't know what happened when they have their old DC as the head coach. What was that defense? They were like prevent mode.
Yeah,
like the second half of the game.
I think something that they did really well last year, Navy was a really good run defense last year. They typically are. That's kind of their philosophy. It's like, well, if you don't run, we're not going to let teams run on us. That's kind of their philosophy. And they got ran on pretty bad. I think Notre Dame averaged like 6-7 yards a carry.
Something like that.
They were train wrecked.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. And it was a stark difference from I think Notre Dame had like 60 rushing yards on them the year before.
It was something like the secondary was like, again, these are smaller guys that are not as great of talent as a Notre Dame or a lot of teams are going to get because obviously they're a naval, they're one of the academy teams. But if you're 3rd and 11, why are your cornerbacks playing it 11 to 12 yards deep? They were like prevent. Like you don't have to press the receiver, but I mean, 5-6 yards maybe. Like just don't let them get a first down. Automatically.
I guess they were scared. I think the difference in this Notre Dame team, I think the receivers, at least the diversity of body type that they have at receiver now, I think probably scared them Navy a little bit. I mean, Chris Tyree is one of the fastest players in college football. He used to play running back. Now he's at slot receiver, and he was getting open. And I think they were kind of scared of the big plays. And you saw Notre Dame take some shots. They hit on some. They missed on others. If Sam Hartman could, had his timing a little bit more down. I think that first one, I think to Merriweather, that he was a little late on. But I think that's kind of the difference in this team this year, is that they have a quarterback that can actually hit the deep ball. And so teams, that kind of changes things. I mean, when you have Drew Pine out there, it's kind of a different dynamic. You don't really have a guy that can push the ball downfield. Sam Hartman, that was all he did at Wake Forest. Like I think he led the country in air yards, every single season pretty much. Or he was at least tops in the country when he was starting at Wake Forest. That's all he did was throw the ball down the field. So that's something he's comfortable doing. So,
well, it definitely was a good showing for Sam Hartman for his first game. Obviously, he was cool, collected, composed, and I mean, he only had like 6 incompletions and 4 touchdowns. So no one's going to complain about that, especially when you hold the other team to 3. This is the one Spaz wants to get to the most. USC versus San Jose State. He texted me about it last night during the game. I didn't notice it, and I was like, all right, cool, it's Spaz. USC defeated San Jose State 56-28, and I believe it was 28-21 at half, I think. Something like that.
21-14.
21-14. Okay, I couldn't remember, but 56-28, USC beats San Jose State. I told Spaz I stay very neutral. I try to stay as neutral as I can. So I'll let Spaz start this one off. I'll let him go wild since Tim isn't here right now.
I want to make sure he sees this.
What, Jordan?
I just wanted to make sure you see this on the screen.
Yeah, I was like, that's a good pull-up right there.
Before you start talking.
Yeah. No. I'm sorry, but I watched the first 3 quarters of that game, and the first half it looked like the USC was sleepwalking. I mean, they got 1 touchdown on a fluke because Williams drops the ball, picks it up, and hucks it up the sideline. And luckily, he had 2 receivers in the zone, and one of them ran under it for a 70-yard touchdown. I mean, otherwise, it's probably a tie game at the half. Their defense was sluggish at best. They got burned at the end of the first half. Broken coverage, third down, and and Williams goes back to pass and just stands there, and then gets sacked at the 3-yard line. Well, now they got to punt the ball with 40 seconds left out of their own end zone. 2 plays later, San Jose scores on a 40-yard broken coverage down the sideline, and it's 21-14 game going into the half, and you're going, what's really going on? But their defense woke up a little bit in the second half. I just felt like they gave up a lot for what was supposed to be, a top 5 defense this year. I didn't think they looked that good, but again, they could have been looking past San Jose State. Everybody says they got no games until like week 9, and if you're Lincoln Riley, you're probably not very happy with that performance yesterday. The end result looked okay, but it really was a much closer game than that.
Well, and that was why I was like, there was the first half that was, and I mean, I know everyone said San Jose State was going to come out and throw a lot at USC, and that's kind of what we predicted last week. It would be close, I think, the first half, and then the second half they'd start pulling away. San Jose State would get kind of worn down, But yeah, it was not a very good looking first half. If you were in general like a USC fan, you were kind of going, God, like 3rd and 22, quarterback scramble for a first down on 3rd and 22. That you can't allow that to happen, ever.
Yeah, and it was stuff like that. I mean, they gave up they gave up 6 yards per play. Like that's not great. I think discipline wise, I think they had 8 penalties too. It was kind of it just kind of a sloppy performance from you. They just kind of out talented them, and I will say the talent that they showed on display, especially on the offensive side of the ball, was pretty incredible, and it gives reason for USC fans to be excited. But yeah, defensively, that's not the performance you kind of wanted to have. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna throw this defense out and say they're no good and just make that conclusion off of one game. But the narrative coming into the season, especially with the how last season went, it was this defense isn't any good, and you have to be somewhat competent if USC wants to make the college football playoff, and that wasn't a great performance. That wasn't the kind of narrative shifting performance you thought you would see, but you took care of business. You won the game. You never felt like USC was in danger of losing the game. It was just kind of like they didn't. They made things look a little harder at times than it needed to be. But I'm not. I had obviously this is one game, and if I'm not going to call Notre Dame a college football playoff contender for how they played yesterday, I'm not going to throw USC to the wolves for how their defense played in one game. So. But we'll see how it goes, moving forward.
I don't really have anything to add. I didn't get a chance to watch the game, but from hearing you guys talking, I'm a little concerned about the defense, just hearing what you guys have to say. But, I mean, they didn't have a great defense last year, and it's going to be a work in progress. So maybe by the end of the season, they can be somewhat, I guess, what you want to say, feasible. But I don't want to say too much. I don't want Tim to come in here and tear me a new one on a team I don't know anything about. So.
Well, I did. That's why I even checked the schedule, because I mean, I don't check every team's next schedule too. So you could say, some teams do look ahead. Like you have San Jose State, and the next week you have Clemson or Michigan. You can be like, or whoever you want to name, and be like, well, yeah, they just kind of were sleepwalking through that because they were looking ahead. They're playing Nevada next week.
Yeah.
At home, Nevada. So it's not like there was a big reason to look ahead, with all due respect to Nevada. But so if Nevada does the same thing, then I think you have to then start going, the alarms have to start signaling, I think, at that point. If Nevada's doing 7 yards per play or per rush, then you have to start worrying.
Yeah, they got 6 weeks of cupcakes, so, I mean, if they have those kind of issues every week, then maybe that's a concern. But that offense is that new wide receiver. That kid, what he had 240 all-purpose yards. It's a freshman.
Something like that.
Yeah, just ridiculous. That kickoff return for 96 yards. Yeah, they got some impressives.
Yeah, no, I mean they did exactly pretty much what I think last week we kind of said. It was going to be the first couple quarters. Yeah, and they'll pull away. They'll wear out San Jose State, and that's what they did. They ended up wearing them out. And that's not a surprise, but it was just the type of plays that was kind of surprising how that first half especially went. But oh boys, there's more, because we're finally going to do it. We're going to do it. We're here to talk about Hawaii at Vanderbilt. Yeah. Hawaii at Vanderbilt. Let's go. Let's get those Vandies in the chat. Because that was actually a pretty good game. If you watch, I didn't watch the game. It was mixed up with the others. But if you watch the highlights, I was like, after last year, Vanderbilt went to Hawaii and destroyed them like 60-14 or whatever it was. And this year, 35-28, Vandy pulls out a win. But Hawaii was driving to potentially tie the game, if not try to win it. That was actually one of the better games of the day yesterday.
I think they were down by 21 too.
They were down. I know they were down by 14 at least. Yeah, they were down
Yeah.
by 14 at some point.
Yeah, I mean, there's not really much to glean from it. Has Hawaii improved? Probably. I mean, they weren't very good last year, so I mean, they could only get better. But hey,
the offense looks like it's taken quite a step forward now in the second year. Finally, with the run and shoot again.
I mean, and yeah, Timmy Chang is one of their own. Like, if you're a college football head, that's a name you probably haven't heard in a minute, but he used to hold all the NCAA passing records, before Colt Brennan came along. So they have one of their own coaching. He's familiar with that system, and that's kind of a culture fit there. So
is he still pretty much running the June Jones system?
His own spin on it, yeah.
Right.
And he's, it's a little more modernized to the today's game, but it's a lot of the same principles, and that's what he's doing. And it looked pretty good yesterday.
Hawaii looked like they were playing with a chip on their shoulder too, like with everything that's been happening over there with the fires and everything like that. I think that kind of gave them a little more drive than normal. So I'm really hoping they have a good season. Like you said, Timmy Chang is a great fit for that school. I mean, he's enveloped in the culture and everything like that. So I'm really hoping, my heart goes out to the Hawaii people, and I really hope that they have a good season. Hopefully they can get to a bowl game. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Did you see? I have to just mention it. I'm trying to find a photo. I don't think I can find a good photo. Mostly videos. Did you see Vanderbilt's under construction, their stadium? Their scoreboard was being held up by a crane.
Yeah.
What?
Yesterday. It's blowing around in the wind. It's being held up by like a crane in one end zone.
Never
the
change.
Things you have to do. The things you have to do to make a game happen, though.
Yeah. Wow. And between the lightning delay and that, it was pretty.
Yeah, it was like a 60 to 90 minute delay. That always sucks, especially your first game. You're like wanting to get out there, and it's like, hold it.
That was such a Vandy type. That was such a Vandy type of game. That's just kind of what they do. Never change, Vandy. We love you.
Well, I don't know. You guys can have your pick if you had any other games you want to mention from week 0, because the best of the rest for me, and maybe one of the better games, was actually, once again, let's have a first for the Voice of College Football channel, not just the After Dark show. UMass at New Mexico State. Let me tell you why this was the best of the rest. Entering the fourth quarter, it was 13-10. UMass over New Mexico State. It ended 41-30. In the fourth quarter, the OCs went, screw it, let's just throw the ball.
And what's funny is, like, UMass's quarterback, if Clemson fans and Georgia Tech fans are very familiar with him, Tyson Pumachan. If you know anything about him, he's a great athlete, former 4-star kid from Connecticut. Great athleticism, can't push the ball farther than 20 yards. At least he couldn't for most of his career. And seeing him have success and play, and he was making some big plays with his arm and his legs. That was pretty cool. UMass has taken a huge step forward, I think. I mean, New Mexico State isn't great or anything like that, but that was their first FBS road win in, like, how many years did they say? I think it was like 2018, 2019. So, like, I mean, that's a big deal, and they hit some big plays. That was pretty cool to see.
It was just one of those games I had to watch the highlights because I saw the score and I was like, okay, let's see what's going on. And then I was like, oh, damn, I kind of wish I watched that game.
I know. I didn't even realize that game. Last I saw it was 13-10, and then you said something just a little bit ago in the chat. I was like, what? What the hell did I miss?
Yeah, that was the highlights. I was like 13-10. I had to go back and I looked. I'm like, final score. I'm like, oh my, what happens in the fourth quarter? Matt's like, no comment.
I didn't get a chance to watch it. I had to Uber last night, so I didn't. I got to watch the Notre Dame game, and that was about it. And I don't want to sit here and comment on things I didn't get a chance to see yet.
Making money over watching college football, I don't understand that one, man.
Dude, well, I have satellite radio, so it helps.
Huge shout out to our boy here, football funk. Huge shout out. Yeah, he's always here. He's back in his groove now too. Football season's back. He's got to be back to work.
Would he tip us $1.99?
Yeah,
$1.99 sticker.
Good to see you, DeAndre. Go Tigers.
Nicely done.
Another game I wanted to give a shout out to is shout out to the Jacksonville State Gamecocks. Probably the real Gamecocks in my opinion. Getting their first win in FBS football. That was pretty cool to see. UTEP absolutely blew that game, but it was pretty cool to see it regardless. It was a slugfest, and UTEP passed on third. Passed with 1 yard to gain on third and fourth down and lost. That was a pretty tight game as well.
I did only watch the first almost half because then I had to switch to Notre Dame, but it was a tight one. It was like 17-13, I think the final score. It was definitely defense.
17-14.
Well, that's one thing I will say for Rich Rodriguez is he, no matter where that guy goes, he is a defensive juggernaut, and he could turn shit into chicken salad with defenses. I don't know how, but he's always been good with his defense, no matter where he goes.
And that's talking down from two of us that have had to deal with Rich Rod, and he can be a pain in people's side when he knows how to attack you. He can be a nightmare. Michigan has some different thoughts about Rich Rod.
No comment. No comment.
And I've got a lot of love for Rich Rod. Former Clemson offensive coordinator. When Woody Dantzler was the quarterback, those were. I mean, I was like a child. I was like an infant when he was here, but he holds a special place in Clemson faithful's heart. It was a lot of. He brought a new and exciting offense to Clemson in those days. So, shout out to Rich Rod.
I heard Michigan's making a statue of him this year.
Dude, that wasn't supposed to get out, man. You're digging deep, brother.
Yeah.
Hey,
it's going to be made out of bronze instead of gold.
If Harbaugh leaves, Rich Rod might be back.
Don't jinx us, man. Don't jinx us. I don't want to go back to the dark ages, man. I've been doing it for too long.
So Matt, tell me this thing. I mean, since you're from Michigan, everywhere else I've seen Rich Rod go, he has solid defenses. What made his defense such a colossal clusterfuck in Michigan?
Well, he's not a defensive guy, so
he's not a defensive guy, but there's like record of like his secondary coaches, like from players just saying they would be on the sideline just chewing tobacco, saying "Don't get beat deep." Like that was the coaching that they got. So there wasn't the best coaching. I personally don't think that Rich Rod had gotten a fair shake, to be completely honest. I mean, he improved by a couple of games every year. He got to a bowl game in his third year. Even though Michigan fans want to win yesterday, I think if he would have maybe had a couple more years, 50-50 shot of it being worth our time. But no, I don't think he got a fair shake. I mean, he wasn't a Michigan man, so like they were wanting to kick him out immediately.
Yeah, that seems to be a very common pattern with coaches.
Mike, he's at San Diego State.
Yeah, they had a very good year last year. He's actually kind of redeemed himself in the coaching world. So if he has another good year, he's probably going to get another job somewhere, unless he just wants to stay at San Diego State.
They won yesterday.
Brady Hoke, we had a terrible year with Brady Hoke. We were like, our defense can't get any worse. Let's hire
Who's
Brady
that
Hoke.
guy?
It got worse. It got
guy?
worse.
Brady who?
Surprise!
Uh,
Oh, shout out to Connor. Don't worry. We're getting to you. We're gonna get to you, Connor. We're gonna get to you. Relax. Calm down over there.
Conference
Crazy
USA,
beaver.
Connor. It's okay.
Oh, and I also wanted to give one more mention before we move on and kind of get into the week 1 games. I did want to. It was interesting to see Jackson State. We don't really talk about FCS that much, but Jackson State, post Dion, had a pretty phenomenal game against South Carolina State. They basically took them to the woodshed, and they had a lot of guys transfer out, a lot of guys transfer in. But you can kind of see the difference in how that program is operating, and they're operating just at a higher level. So that was interesting. I was kind of I was interested to see how that program
that
would
game was
bounce back.
yesterday.
Yeah.
Well, before we get to week 1, we have to talk about something. We've heard about it the off season, but I didn't really think about it too much coming up. That was like one of the little things not really thought of was the rule changes that were in effect. And I know there were actually 2 or 3, but the one notable one, as we discussed a little bit earlier, was the running clock now, except for in the last 2 minutes of the second quarter and fourth quarter. Like first downs will get you the break after the first down. But everything else is running like NFL now. And I actually did not notice it almost at all until they said something about it.
I think the only game that you really kind of saw the effect of it like significantly was the Notre Dame Navy game, and that was kind of an outlier because of when you're the option, and at both teams they didn't pass. Well, Notre Dame didn't have many incompletions, and obviously Navy doesn't pass the ball much at all, so it was a pretty consistent moving. The ball was being moved and staying in play, one way or the other from a lot of the game, and so it went by pretty fast.
They were each having like 4 to 7 minute drives. They were all taking up the clock.
So there's if you go out of bounds on second or third down, the clock just keeps running now too.
No, that will still have a pause I think that'll still have the same pause it normally does, but the clock is continuously running now. So every first down, it just keeps running.
Oh, okay.
But then after the last 2 minutes of the half and the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter, so kind of like the 2 minute warning in the NFL, it's not a 2 minute warning, but that's when the first downs will then have that pause like normal, where they'll have that delay.
So they can still do the 2 minute drives like normal.
Yeah.
That's not going away. It's gonna look the same.
That was my concern. I was like, holy crap, that's going to make it too quick.
It still does make coaches have to adjust their game planning and time management quite a bit, though. It does have to make an effect.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're going into a first down, and it'll take the chains, the guys like 4 to maybe 7 seconds to move the chains, maybe faster. So in that sense, you may think it's not going to add up, but over time, that's maybe 3 to 4 less plays a team is going to be able to run, and that could be all the difference in the game. If it's a tight game and that they have 2 minutes and 30 seconds instead of 3 minutes and 45 because of the clock being able to stop.
Yeah, they said it's going to shorten the game. They went off the average amount of plays last year run by all the teams or whatever, and they said it'll probably cut off about, I think they said 8 plays per team per game.
Okay, so even more than I said.
So which you think is not that much, but in the last second position to have that extra play potentially, it could make a difference. We're going to have to see how it works. There was another rule change, and I don't recall what it was. They mentioned it briefly, but it really didn't show up yesterday at all. The time one's the only one that really showed up because people got delay of games out of timeouts because not the clock, but the play clock started running a lot faster, and they literally took a timeout and then got a delay a game because they didn't get the play off after the timeout. I was like, I think that was UTEP.
I know the one thing that I do remember them talking about, not necessarily being a rule, but a point of emphasis is what I think they put it as far as like the personal foul calls and the game ejections. I believe they said they were going to have they were going to keep an eye on it this year and kind of hope that there wasn't going to be as much. Does that make sense? I think I heard something similar to that.
That's probably something. Dave mentioned the rules about chop blocks. That is definitely going to affect the service academies. Already is. Jeff Monken is basically at Army. He's pretty much campaigning. It's like y'all got to give me some leeway. I can't just run the same offense I normally run. You got to let me pass the ball every once in a while. So because of the rule changes, I mean that's a part of that offense.
Yeah, and that's a good one by Dave too. Is right here, Dave E. is can't call. That's why UTEP had to take that penalty because they couldn't call another timeout because they got rid of that like back-to-back timeout calls from a team. That was a good one. That was the
double ice the kicker exactly.
Yeah, and even they were on offense.
Fine rule. That's a good rule.
That's fine.
Yeah.
And overall, though, yesterday, I think the officiating that I saw, anyways, I mean, I'm sure there was maybe one or two questionable calls, like Notre Dame Navy. I think there was one pass interference they could have called, and there was one pass interference they did call, and they did, and they probably didn't have to. But it was so, kind of wishy-washy, like fast action. It's like whatever. But I think the official did pretty decent yesterday because remember, it's a warm-up game for them too at full speed. So they also have to kind of start running all over the place again.
Yeah, a lot of those games were played in 90 plus, 100 plus degree temperatures as well. And that like you said, that was their first run of the year. And it's like, y'all got to give me a minute.
Oh yeah, there were a few people that went down yesterday with cramping and no matter what, because the fields were like Jacksonville State, UTEP. I think they said it was like 100 degrees outside, but on the field it was like 120 to 130 degrees on the field.
Yeah, it gets hot. Like the hottest game I ever went to was 2019 when Texas A&M came to Clemson. That was it was a good on the field at field level. It felt like it was like 115 degrees. It's
how do you play that shit?
Yeah.
Hot. Well, now we can get into the good stuff because this is what we're now looking at. Because week one, we have a lot of good games coming up. And I think we have to all agree there are a bunch of good ones, but the first one starts Thursday with Utah for the first time since 1992. Traveling outside the state of Florida, at least that far west, to face a non-conference foe in Utah. And we know the game last year, it came down to basically a terrible decision by Cam Rising to throw that interception in the end zone. What are we thinking of Florida, Utah?
I mean, let's just talk about the elephant in the room. Is Cam Rising playing? I mean, I think that's kind of the biggest thing that's going to determine how most people feel about that game. Is Cam Rising going to play? They've been kind of wishy-washy about his status. They haven't really released much. The preliminary depth chart for Utah came out, and Cam Rising was listed as the starting quarterback, but there's been no confirmation that he's going to be ready to play. That's going to be interesting. I still don't know how to feel about this game because of those unknowns. Is Graham Mertz for Florida has he taken a step forward? Is he going to be able to play within the offense and play within structure and do the things that we didn't see at Wisconsin? I don't know. I really don't know. Florida has some turnover. It had some turnover on the offensive line. They have really good running backs. I think they'll be decent enough at receiver, but and they have some pieces defensively. But it's really all about are they going to be consistent enough on offense? Are they going to be able to handle the travel? Playing on the road at Rice Eccles, that's a tough stadium to play at. the elevation, all of that. It's just a different environment. Florida hasn't played a non-conference game outside of the state of Florida since the 90s. I don't think many people realize that. Yeah.
Has it been that long?
Yes, it's been that long. They have not played a regular season, at least in the regular season. Bowl games notwithstanding,
right, out of conference.
But they haven't played an out-of-conference game outside of the state of Florida since the 90s. I think they played Syracuse, and they lost, I think.
Wow.
So that tells you a lot. It's going to be kind of unfamiliar territory for them. So I don't really know
a lot of young kids and stuff, 18, 19, 20-year-olds, never been on the road. They get to a big town somewhere else and they've never been at. They want to get out and explore that nightlife. And I just watched The Swamp, and that was wow. I don't know if you guys had a chance to see that yet.
Swamp King, the Swamp King documentary. Yeah, I did see. Yeah, I watched it.
Urban Meyer will probably never coach another college football game in his life after that came
out. We can only hope. we can only hope. But
I watched when he came into the Jacksonville, and heard all those things, and I'm thinking, whatever, bunch of pansy don't want to play football guys. But then I see Swamp Kings, and I'm like, oh, they were not joking. Those boys were serious. I'd never seen such insanity in coaching or anything, and how it went on for so long just blows me away.
So we have a consensus.
I don't think we have a consensus. I'm going to lean Utah because of the home field advantage, but I really don't know how to feel about this game. Utah has some pieces to replace other than that on the offensive side of the ball, and they also they lost that defensive back. I'm forgetting his name, Thomas. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm on the same boat as you. I'm looking at the line right now because that's how I kind of judge things. And Utah is a 6.5 point favorite right now, which I would think they had been a little bit more since Florida's a little unproven. Like you were talking about Graham Mertz. I don't know how to feel about him. And then Cam Rising, like you said, is he going to play or not? I feel like Utah would be a double-digit favorite if he was playing. So now I'm a little weary. But we're 4 days away?
I think the line opened at 8.5. I don't know. I don't see. The thing with Florida is I don't think there's many teams that are going to be double-digit favorites over him. Thank you, LFG. It was Clark Phillips. I don't know why I said Thomas. But I don't think there's going to be many teams that are going to be double-digit favorites over Florida just because of the talent on their roster and the talent profile. They're probably going to be power rated as a top 30-ish team, and you're not going to see top 30-ish teams get power, be double-digit underdogs against teams they're at least somewhat comparable with as far as a roster is concerned. So that's the thing that makes me kind of wary. But last year Utah probably should have won that game, but it was Anthony Richardson made some incredible plays. He kind of showed why he was a top 5 pick in that game. And of course, he didn't show that consistently throughout the year, but in that game, he made some really special plays, and he's not there anymore. So will they need that from Graham Mertz, or have they taken that next step under Billy Napier? Are the players more comfortable in the system? Have they improved defensively? All of those are questions that need to be answered.
I think the one thing I think the most thing is Cam Rising playing for sure. Will he be 100%? And then Utah, for some reason, every year, no matter how good Utah ends up being, they start off really slow. Their first 2 to 3 games, they always start off slow for some reason, and they shouldn't. But then they settle in. Every year, it seems to be this way. and then they'll go on a tear. But the first couple of games, for some reason, is just, I don't know what it is with the Utah team and why they do that.
Why, yes, we do, Slim Shady. I like my ranch in my pizza rolls. Thank you very much.
So just talking snack over there. He's a
I thought that was just
he's a Canes fan, so you know.
Yeah.
I
thought that was just a Midwestern thing.
He took some dead weight from us.
Yeah.
All right. We're gonna roll. We're gonna roll through.
My quick thing on the Utah game is this, because I don't know a lot about Florida, but what I do know with Utah is, in my mind, I'm definitely, like Matt said, if Utah is only a 6-point favorite, to me, that's because Cam Rising probably isn't going to play. And if he doesn't play, that means they're on their third string quarterback. And that's because their second stringer went down a couple weeks ago in practice, and he's done for the season. So now you're looking at having to play your third string quarterback. That's kind of scary.
Yeah, we're gonna find out then, I guess, because it's coming up quick. That's right. It's a Thursday game, so that's gonna be a special Thursday evening. That you would think that'd be a Saturday prime time, but they're getting a prime Thursday night slot.
It's the kickoff
holiday
class.
Weekend. Yeah, for the holiday weekend. We can roll through some of these other ones because there's not a lot to talk about. I mean, there's a lot to talk about, but actually, really quickly, since we brought it up, and I don't want to jinx you, but East Carolina at Michigan. Let's go. Let's go. We get to see your Wolverines take on the Pirates.
Oh, I don't really see
the purple Pirates.
Yeah, the purple Pirates. I don't really see too much of that. I mean, I was saying it earlier. They're going to have, I guess, Jesse Minter this week is going to be the head coach. It should be over by the half. Obviously, Michigan should be up by 28-35, and then just kind of cruise to a 49-17 victory. They don't need to go all out. Obviously, this is not going to be an Appalachian State, so don't you dare jinx it. You watch your mouth, Ben.
Well, you remember what happened the week after the App State one, right?
Oh yeah, I remember 39-7, dude. You guys walked into town. I remember people saying, "Oh yeah, Michigan's gonna blow the doors off of Oregon the following week," and then no. I remember.
All right, good. Those are good times. Those were good times. That was that year sucked for everyone except for LSU. It's like that year sucked for everyone except for them.
Yeah.
The luckiest team to win a natty, probably.
Is that Les Miles this year?
Yeah. I don't have much to say on the Michigan East Carolina either. I don't know much about East Carolina right now, and Michigan.
Well,
I think I know what to expect.
I know a little bit about ECU. They are replacing their quarterback, a 5-year starter, Holton Ahlers. He was kind of a big reason why they were bowl eligible They won 8 games last year. And Keaton Mitchell is one of the best backs in the country. But at least as far as production is concerned. But they lost some experience in some other areas. It's going to be tough to replace. But they've steadily improved under Mike Houston so far. So, but I don't think this will be much trouble for Michigan. I'm not saying that.
No, the only thing I'm interested in seeing is they talked about they want to develop more of a pass rush because that was a weakness on the team last season. So I know, again, it's East Carolina. We're expecting a blowout win, but I want to see what the defensive end is going to look like, the edge rusher. I think that's going to be a big key to whether or not this is another successful season for them because they have to get pressure on the quarterback. I know they beat Ohio State soundly, but that game could have been a lot closer. So hopefully they are able to develop something of a pass rush that's worth a damn.
Fair. That's fair. I mean, that's what you want to see, especially against in your first game, such a lower competition. You'd like to see that aspect dominate in some way to go, okay. Well,
Yeah.
speaking of, I don't want to say jinx games too, is Clemson at Duke coming up this weekend. It's not a jinx game, I don't think, but Duke surprised a lot of people last year. So I know you guys have Klubnik coming back, but you have a new OC who did good. But what do you think, Jordan? This is it shouldn't be a trap game because it's the first game of the season, so I would hopefully not consider it a trap game.
I hope not. We have Charleston Southern after this. I hope we're not looking ahead to the Buccaneers. No, shout out to them. They actually run an interesting offense, but that they should not. Yeah, obviously they're not looking ahead to Charleston Southern. But no, this is an interesting game for a lot of reasons. The spread is pretty short, for what you would expect. If you just looked at the two logos and as far as football is concerned, you would think you're like, oh wait, Clemson's only favored by 12, but yeah, Duke is one of the most experienced teams in the ACC. Bringing back quarterback Riley Leonard, he was a huge part of that offense. Has legit NFL upside. Mike Elko's done a great job with that team in year one, and they have some pieces returning on defense as well. They lost their top 3 tacklers, but all of the defensive line is back. They have some guys back in the secondary. Every player that carried a ball for them on the offensive side of the ball is back. They have pieces on the offensive line that are back. So this is an experienced Duke team, and they're riding that momentum from that 9-win season. So if Clemson comes in and kind of, is not, they don't bring their B or so game, they could be in some trouble. But this is a good opportunity for Clemson to kind of showcase the new offense. One thing that Duke didn't do very well last year was defend big plays through the air. And if you know anything about Garrett Riley and the offenses he's had, that's their bread and butter. I mean, he was top 10 in the country last year in pass plays of over 20 yards. And I think Clemson, from a matchup advantage, I think honestly they have 2 really great backs. They return 4 or 5 stars on the offensive line, but I do think they have weapons at wide receiver that can make plays against that Duke secondary. I think they have a significant size advantage. One of Duke's safeties is 5'8". So I think this is from a matchup standpoint. I know it's kind of been popular to think, oh, Duke could possibly upset Clemson here, but I feel pretty good about this matchup from a Clemson standpoint. I think this is a team that Clemson matches up well with. I think if you take care of Riley Leonard in the run game, they're not going to be particularly effective in that aspect of the ball. And I think Clemson has an extremely experienced secondary that'll be able to hold up against those receivers. So I like Clemson. I've got my Homer shades on, I guess, but I like Clemson to cover pretty, fairly easily.
What's the line? What is the line right now?
Clemson's a 13-point favorite.
Okay, that's not too big of a line even. So I could see him definitely covering. That's not too big of a line.
They should win that game by 17 at least, I think.
Yeah, I think it's kind of I think the spread is kind of a cautionary. Well, Clemson's. This is Cade Klubnik. His first year as the full-time starter. They lost some pieces. They lost some pieces on the defensive line. Duke is extremely experienced, and so that's kind of a shorter line. But I think the matchup is in Clemson's favor especially on the lines of scrimmage. And I think this is an opportunity for Clemson to maybe kind of show that they have righted the ship a little bit on the offensive side of the ball.
Any other thoughts on that game? Because it is a prime time by itself on Monday night. So everyone's going to be watching because it's the only game going on.
Only game going, yeah.
Watching. It's like everyone will be watching. Nothing? All right.
No.
You guys suck. Is Connor still in here? Is our resident Beaver still in here building a dam somewhere? If he is, we'll come back. If he is, we'll come back to him. Just let me know, Connor, in the chat.
Dam.
He's doing his own thing. He's doing Beaver things or whatever. There were several other really interesting games this week, of course. we're going to talk about them, but some of the sneaky good ones that really could be good ones. Boise State at Washington. So the return of Michael Penix Jr. and Kalen DeVore taking on Boise State, who is maybe not as good as they have been in the past, but it's still a pretty decent team. And they always are a pain in everyone's side when they go, especially against Pac-12 teams. They love sucker punching Pac-12 teams, except for LeGarrette Blount. He sucker punches Boise State players.
What's the line on that game, Matt?
I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah, Boise State at Washington. I think this could be one of those good games. Washington and Boise State have had some pretty good games before.
I'm trying to tell you if my phone's acting up.
I'm getting.
Oh, it's 14.5 point is what Washington is. They're a 14.5 point favorite.
14.5. Okay, that's still not a huge. That's still not a huge spread. So that's showing some respect for Boise.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
13, 15, yeah.
And Michael Penix is on Washington, correct? He's still the quarterback.
Yeah, he's the Heisman.
Oh yeah, he absolutely should be. I mean, this is his second year on the offense. I know he's got some decent receivers around him. I don't see any reason why he can't be in the Heisman contention race. I don't see why not.
He was the leading passer last year in college football, so I mean, yeah, he torched every team that they played, except for Arizona State. But that's a different discussion for a different day.
If you tackle Penix Jr. and give him a little twist on the knees.
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
Don't. No.
We here on the Voice of College Football channel do not advocate for
injury.
Yeah. Don't wish that bad juju on anyone.
I was so happy to see him have such a good year last year.
He's had injury issues. That's what I'm saying.
That's fair.
He's aware of it. So, but last year he got through the whole season healthy and looked really good. And I was like, there we go. Maybe he's figured out. Maybe he's overcome his injuries. Maybe he's actually they've healed up finally too, because he didn't get it re-aggravated.
Years he was out.
At least a year, I think.
At least a year in like multiple games.
Something like that. I'd have to look at that, but I mean, the point is last year he stayed healthy, and so he's coming back strong, and the team should be, I think, better in a way because their offense is going to be good. Their defense should be at least the same, if not a little improved. Their defense was their only kind of really questionable spot last year.
But they lost their lead running back for the year too.
That's right. You sent me that. That's right.
Hurt.
It could. Have to see how their backup does.
Because they were projecting him to have a big year as well, and he went down. Lost two. I think one of their offensive tackles also went down, but I didn't hear how long he was going to be out. But I do know the other day they did confirm that their running back was done for the year. I think it was an ACL.
Was that Wayne Talapapa? Is he still there?
I don't remember the kid.
He was the transfer from Virginia. I know he.
I think it is him. I think it is him.
Oh, okay.
Whoever their number one running back was, and then also one of their top offensive tackles.
We're gonna have to see. It always sucks when players go down, especially before the start of the season, because you don't even get to. You work your butt off for spring and summer, and then even some of fall camp, and then it's over.
It's not him. Wayne Talapapa is now with the Seahawks. So I was about to say, I knew he was in college for a minute. I was wondering if he was still there.
I couldn't remember if he was still there or not. That's why I was like, is he?
All I knew was it was the number one back. I couldn't remember his name.
Nah. Well, we don't have any of our West Virginia guys in here. I know Joey's doing some other things tonight for Traveling Fools. But West Virginia at Penn State to start also this weekend. So we're going to find out a lot about West Virginia and Penn State at the same time.
It's going to be a slugfest. I expect it to be a hard-hitting game. I don't know a lot about West Virginia, but I know Penn State's got one of the best running back duos in the country, easily top 3. And I know they have a very good offensive line. Drew Aller is obviously going to be the question mark for quarterback, but I can see Penn State winning this game comfortably. I don't know what the spread is, but I personally think Penn State's going to the playoff this year. So, spoiler alert for people.
Penn State's favored by 20.5, I think, is what I'm getting.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see them covering that easily.
That's more of the line I expected to see for some other teams.
West Virginia's going to be a pretty transfer-heavy team this year. They lost some pieces from last year. They replaced Dante Stills on that defensive line. I don't think they're going to be very good. I don't feel good about where they are right now. And Neil Brown is coaching for his job. That pressure, who knows? That pressure either makes guys overperform, or it's kind of like it's just a
fight or flight.
Yeah. So, but I again, Penn State is loaded this year. I think I don't like the matchup for West Virginia. I think they win, and it wouldn't surprise me if Penn State covered that 20.5.
I'm gonna let Joey know you guys think so poorly of West Virginia.
Love you, Joey.
we still love you, Joey.
Yeah, don't beat me up, dude.
I just don't think your team is very good this year.
I didn't know they were going to be that bad this year. Ugh.
It's going to be tough. I think
the schedule isn't great either. They but by it's not great. It's fairly difficult.
I think Penn State should come out and make a statement game out of this one. Like, make the doubters, because there are people, they're thinking it's still Michigan, Ohio State, 1 and 2, or 1A, 1B, then kind of Penn State. So Penn State come out, and then it doesn't matter, it's not the conference, but just blow out a Power 5 team in your opener, make people aware of you, and move on from there. Jordan, you're the educated man here. You know a lot about these teams, because this is a sneaky one to see how these teams rebound after last year's, I would say, disappointing bowl losses, but also potentially even how their seasons kind of went. One a little bit different for each team, but North Carolina at South Carolina. North Carolina obviously losing to Oregon in dramatic fashion at the end of the bowl game. South Carolina having Notre Dame come back to beat them in their bowl game. But North Carolina's season kind of disappointing for what they were hoping for. South Carolina's actually maybe better than what they expected. So different trajectories.
Yeah, this is an interesting match. Obviously, this game day is going to be it's being played in Charlotte. So it's going to be an interesting game. I think North Carolina. Offensively, I'm kind of in the mode with North Carolina where I'm just like, well, they're going to be productive no matter who's catching passes. I think they're going to be fine even if Tez Walker doesn't get that waiver. I think they're going to be fine as far as the skill positions are concerned. Drake May is going to be a top 5 pick in next year's draft. But defensively, that's always been the thing with North Carolina these last few years. It's been a consistent liability, especially last year. They were, dead last in a lot of categories. Then they lost a lot from that defense. So I'm kind of in is year 2 of Gene Chizik? They brought in a ton of transfers. Is that a positive, or are they just it's going to be more of the same? I'm kind of in wait till I see it mode, because through multiple coordinators, they haven't been good. And then with South Carolina, this is a team that was riding high. Obviously you mentioned the bowl game loss, but before that they had beaten 2 top 10 teams in Tennessee and Clemson, and were really riding high. And Spencer Rattler kind of showed the ability that we all thought he had coming out of high school. But they've gone through some changes of their own at offensive coordinator. So is North Carolina, but South Carolina, this might be. I'm interested to see whether it's an upgrade, as much of an upgrade as they hope it is. Bringing in Dowell Loggins, the Arkansas tight end coach, and then they lost a ton in the transfer portal. Between guys like Marshawn Lloyd and Jaheim Bell, Gilbert Edmond, Jordan Birch. This is a team that is having to replace some stuff, replace some guys. They brought in some interesting transfers, and I'm just kind of in like, well, how does this team look? Is the offensive line in good shape? That's kind of a question mark for them so far. Do they have guys step up at running back? They were down to pretty much one scholarship running back at the end of last year with the departures. So this is a matchup of two teams with a lot of unknowns. Besides their quarterbacks, we kind of know the abilities of both quarterbacks, and and I think both teams will have pretty good options as pass catchers. But beyond that, it's anybody's guess to how these teams will look. I don't know what is the spread on that game. I
don't have that in front of me. I wouldn't be surprised if it's pretty close. I mean, because that's it. You know what you're going to get for the most part out of Drake May, but are you going to get the early season Spencer Rattler from last year or the end of year Spencer Rattler when he was just throwing it all over the place, and couldn't be stopped?
Yeah, that's kind of the question, is it? I mean, I tend to think South Carolina is going to throw the ball a lot this year because I don't think they're going to have much of a run game. They could prove me wrong, but when you're starting running back as a guy you moved from wide receiver and he was playing quarterback and you recruited him as a quarterback, that's, I don't know. And then the kind of the question marks they've had on the offensive line, they've had some injury issues up front. I don't know. But I think that South Carolina will be able to take advantage of UNC's secondary. That's kind of what I'm leaning on right now. I'm leaning South Carolina to win that game because I think they will be able to hit explosive plays. Juice Wells might be one of the best receivers. He's one of the best returning receivers in the country, and they have some talented pass catchers behind him as well. So I'm actually going to lean South Carolina, but I think it's going to be a tight, competitive game.
You heard it here first. Jordan's take: South Carolina takes out North Carolina.
Yes, surprisingly, yeah. I kind of went against the grain. That's not why I picked South Carolina. I do kind of tend to think they're going to win this game, but
I wouldn't be surprised.
If North Carolina wins that game.
I'm kind of coin flip, to be honest. I don't know enough about the teams as they stand right now, but both teams have their equal strengths and weaknesses. It's who takes advantage of it, and again, what Spencer Rattler do you get?
Yeah. And I'm just kind of the opinion that I've seen more from Shane Beamer. South Carolina under Shane Beamer has overperformed consistently under Shane thus far, and North Carolina under Mac Brown they've underperformed more often than not, and that's kind of I'm not betting against Shane Beamer right now because when you tend to think that he's not going to things aren't going well. That's when he surprises you. I mean, South Carolina was outright bad offensively for most of the year, but they kind of shifted some play calling duties away from Marcus Satterfield, and all of a sudden they putting up 63 on Tennessee and beating Clemson, on the road. So, and they had a pretty good offensive performance, especially in the first half against Notre Dame as well. So that's, they seem to have found something there.
Yeah, unless North Carolina has totally changed some sort of defensive philosophy or ability, they're not Notre Dame defense. And they're not. No. Well, while you're here, Jordan, because we lost Matt, unfortunately, he had to get out of here. What do you think of with LSU FSU? Because that's the other I think the biggest game of the weekend is the revenge match for LSU after that just disastrous ending on a PFT. Just
Yeah.
disastrous ending.
I think both sides of that. I think both fan bases have kind of been one-sided in how they've looked at that game. I mean, Florida State is kind of like, we should never have been in the position where LSU was kicking that PAT to begin with. We fumbled at our own goal line. We had led for most of the game, all of that, and that Florida State, and they kind of say that in response to people that Florida State was lucky to win that game, and then on the other hand. The LSU fans are like, well, we were the better team. We feel like we were the better team, and it was our first game under our new head coach and all of that. But I think both teams improved over the course of the season. So I'm not really going to use last year as a kind of reference point because I think both teams are going to be different, especially Florida State with the transfers they've made, they've brought in, and they're just kind of they're a different team than they were last year. I'm gonna lean Florida State in this game. I think the spread is LSU favored.
I think so, but this game is also is this at Florida State or is this a neutral site?
They're playing it in Orlando.
Oh, okay, yeah. Now I see it, Orlando. Yeah, I was like,
so because it's kind of a home and home without it being a home and home because they played in
neutral site, home and home. Yeah, kind of in your region. Yeah. So still, but I mean, they're still really close together. I mean, it only takes 6 hours.
Current line is LSU by 2.5.
Yeah, LSU.
Ooh.
Yeah, LSU by 2.5. Yeah,
the coin flip.
Again, that's so stupid. I'm like, why not just play at each other's home stadium at that point? Like, why? That's what we all want to see. Anyway, I would have loved to have seen Florida State go to Death Valley Junior last year, and I would have loved to have seen LSU come to Doak Campbell. Like that would have been awesome.
Yeah, I prefer the home and home. These home and even home and home, so to say, the neutral sites are rare. Usually, it's just go there in
the neutral
some
site
random
games are all
place.
about money.
Yeah, I hate that. I do prefer home and home.
Unfortunately,
that's always fun.
Yeah, but I mean, it's college football for a reason. I want to see the teams playing on their campus. We could talk about like Miami and their whole deal, but that's a conversation for another day. And I don't know if Slim is still listening. I don't want to get him started. But no, in all seriousness, I'm gonna lean Florida State because LSU has some question marks on the back end of their defense. That's kind of been that's still been kind of a question mark through fall camp from everything that's been reported. And I'm just going to I'm going to trust that Mike Norvell, he's one of the best play callers as a head coach. And he doesn't really get talked about that much, but he's a really good play caller. And he's going to have things dialed up. And with the transfers they had, the receiver talent that Jordan Travis is going to have to throw to, that's going to be tough.
Still got Jordan. Yeah.
Between Keon Coleman, Johnny Wilson, Winston Wright, the West Virginia transfer that everyone forgot about because he didn't play last year. He had a motorcycle accident. He's back. Katron Poitier. I can go through the list of guys that they have.
I bet you can.
True freshman, five-star Hakeem Williams that they're really high on. They have a lot of talent at receiver. And they also brought in Jaheim Bell from the transfer portal at tight end. Well, he gets listed as a tight end because of his size, but he kind of can. They're going to use him as a wideout. He can play running back some. He's kind of a versatile weapon. They're going to have some really good talent. So I'm going to lean Florida State because the matchup, I think, it favors Florida State.
I should have just had you solo screen the whole time because you know these teams.
This guy's got more knowledge than anybody I've ever met on.
Well, it's also his conference, so of course he's going to know these teams.
Yeah, I try to make sure especially if the team is on Clemson's schedule, I try to make sure I know that roster pretty well. But hey, I'm just a college football fan. I pick up what I pick up. I've just always had a pretty good memory.
I used to when I was younger. Not no more.
Well, what do you think, Spaz? Because you probably watched this game last year. when they play.
LSU and Florida State.
Yeah.
I mean, you just never know on these games. Yeah, I mean, LSU's got the defensive struggles apparently still, but there. I mean, you don't know what you're going to get out of Jaden Daniels. One game he could throw for 400 yards and 6 touchdowns and look like the Heisman winner. And the next game he throws 7 for 24 for $130 and 3 picks. So you don't know what you're going to get with that guy. But Florida State, yeah, I mean, Jordan hit it. They've got a receiving crew that's pretty impressive. And with Jordan Travis still back there and Mike Novell, he's an offensive juggernaut. I mean, if it was at LSU, I would say probably LSU, but I'm with Jordan. I think Florida State is just they're going to find a way to grind it out.
This is why I'm not a betting man, because I would see that line and be like, no, thank you. Because it does feel like this is like a coin flip game, because you don't know which team's going to struggle at the start, kind of like LSU did last year. And then also they put together the end of the game and then through the season, just like FSU continued to do. So I don't know what team we're going to get. And it's so close with that. I could see it being a field goal game.
Yeah,
or a missed TAT like last year. I could see it being
LSU can absolutely win this game. I'm just like I think defensively with Mason Smith being out and kind of some of the question mark they have, I'm a little worried. Slim actually, of course he's still here. He said, Jordan, I'm not taking those comments from a fan of a team that rushes the field after a loss. Hey, well, if you had your own stadium to rush the field after a loss, and you would play something different. So, I mean,
it's true.
I'd rather be rushing my own field instead of an NFL team's, but that's just me. Just me.
That's because they know they're never going to play in the NFL.
Oh, sheesh. We're on a Miami hate speech tour tonight or something. Huh?
No comment.
We warned you, Miami. Well, Jordan, since you're here and you're on a roll, and I don't want to, because then we're going to get into a little more of our territory. This, I think, is one of the 2 sneaky games. We talked about it a little briefly. NC State at UConn and the Fighting Jim Morris in year 2.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be. I think that could be a really good game. Actually,
it could be. I don't really. I'm not too worried about NC State dropping this game, but I do think that UConn has taken steps forward. In Jim Moore's first year, they were, much improved. I think they make a bowl game. They were 5-7, or they were close to making a bowl game after being terrible.
I think they were like 6-5 at one point, and I'm not. I think they ended up either 6-6 or 5. But didn't they go to a bowl game last year, or not?
They did. I think they did. I think they might have won. I think they did make a bowl game actually. So yeah, no, UConn is not a pushover. I don't know why. I don't know why NC State scheduled this game on the road. That's going to get me on another tangent about these ACC teams scheduling Northeast opponents on the going to their home stadium for what, like Virginia Tech playing at Old Dominion and stuff like that. I'm like, why? Virginia Tech lost to Old Dominion last year. Like stuff like that. I'm like, if you're trying to improve the stature and the kind of notoriety of the conference, I mean, scheduling road games against G5 opponents and losing is not really the way to do it. But I don't think NC State loses this game. I think defensively they're still going to be really strong, bringing back especially on their back seven. Peyton Wilson is back, Aiden White, Shaheem Battle. They're going to have a really, really damn good secondary. And I think that's going to carry them. Even, they are going through a transition on offense. They bring in Brendan Armstrong from Virginia. They bring in Robert Anai to be his offensive coordinator from Syracuse, who was at Virginia when Brendan Armstrong had his breakout season. So they're kind of hoping to see that marriage kind of work out. NC State's been a team that's been consistently really strong defensively, but they offensively, it's kind of been hit or miss these last few years under Tim Beck, who is now the head coach at Coastal Carolina. So I think this could be a game where NC State kind of struggles out the gate offensively, but I don't see UConn putting up much points on that defense. And I think NC State will be able to lean on them and pull out a win.
Yeah, they're 14.5, but I think UConn, if they have anything better than what they had last year, if they improved at all, because of it being on their home court or field, I can see it being, I can see them maybe making it a game and NC State winning by only like a touchdown, maybe 13 points, because UConn was the surprise team last year. Remember them interviewing Jim Mora when they were on that cusp of if they were going to make the bowl game or not. And the difference in that guy is night and day. I mean, he's enjoying coaching again. And those are the kind of coaches that can build guys' morale, that are just going there to play or get that opportunity. They get a coach like that behind them, kind of gets them in that, well, maybe we can win some games mode.
Well, and Jim Mora, we had to deal with Jim Mora when he was at UCLA, and he had his ups and downs, but going to a team like UConn that was, a dumpster
dreadful.
Fire, I had to make them better.
They were getting ready to fold their football program at one point.
That's right. They were, huh?
I think it's just going to be one of those sneaky games because after last season, UConn's a little fired up now. They have confidence, So we're going to have to see because I think it will be. But NC State should still handle business. But I think it might be closer than people think it's going to be.
And hey, listen, last year, I think people forgot NC State was this close to losing to East Carolina last year, early in the year. I could see that game going similar to that. I think ECU missed a couple extra points. I think it was like NC State was legit. I think they missed the game-winning field goal. NC State was legit lucky to win that game.
Last year there was multiple first week just drama show games last season.
Yeah.
Just the what was it, the App North Carolina where it was 40 points in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, that was
it was
incredible.
We weren't going to talk about this game, but since Conundrum brought it up, and we did kind of talk about it briefly, will the Huskers upset the Gophers on Thursday? Would that be an upset? I guess in some people's minds it would be. I'm not sure if that would actually be an upset.
What's the line? Okay, so Minnesota's a 7.5 point favorite, so that's over a touchdown. So that's interesting.
Well, it's at Minnesota too.
Yeah,
as I recall, it's at Minnesota. I don't know. Like we said, I have huge respect for what both teams do, but I don't know if the Huskers are ready for it. Not Rule. It's his first game. If he can pull off a win, that'd be a huge statement to the start for the season.
Well, I think the first thing you look at is the quarterback situation, and Minnesota doesn't have Tanner Morgan for the first time in since 1983, so that's pretty incredible. I never thought that guy was going to leave. But Nebraska, I think Nebraska has the more known commodity in Jeff Sims. guy extremely talented coming out of high school, and kind of flashed at times at Georgia Tech. I think there was kind of a conflict in what they wanted to do offensively and his skill sets, and it just didn't work out. But I think Jeff Sims is the type of quarterback that Matt Rule historically has had success with.
Kind of like a PJ Fleck, or not PJ Fleck. Sorry, that's Minnesota coach. What? PJ Walker. PJ Walker. That's what I was trying to say, not Fleck.
Yeah, that's it.
Got it mixed up there.
But yeah, but I think this is it could work out really well. I think Jeff Sims, his ceiling is NFL, draft pick potential. He has that kind of ability. It's just, is that going to be is that marriage going to work? And Todd mentioned it in the live chat. Marcus Satterfield, formerly of the University of South Carolina, is their offensive coordinator, and he wasn't very good last year. He wasn't really good the past 2 years, and he hasn't been very good at a lot of places he's been. So I have a question mark there. I've not seen it from Marcus Satterfield whether he can be a good play caller. He hasn't really had many successful quarterbacks under his watch. So that kind of scares me a little bit.
I have to address something. I have to address something really fast. Slim Shady, maybe you guys need to do more of that and get better.
All right, this has turned into college football Miami Slander after dark. Thank you for joining us. Let's talk about the 2003 Orange Bowl. Or Fiesta.
I don't know. Yeah, this could be I don't see this being a high scoring game. Nebraska, Minnesota. That seems like your typical
17-14.
Midwest. Yeah, just kind of feel each other out for a while, run the ball. But who knows? Maybe they're going to open the playbooks.
And Minnesota still Mo Ibrahim is back, right? That's a big deal.
He is. Yeah, he is. So they may just run the ball. Maybe Matt Rule will actually just open the book and just test a lot of stuff out. It is a conference game, so it's more important for these two teams to win this one. It's not a non-con, So they kind of do want to have the upper hand in their conference. Now we're getting to good stuff. I see.
Jordan,
was that?
He's not back. He's not back.
No, he's not back. Well,
Jordan,
since we have
what Felipe said.
I don't know why. I might have missed it. What did he say?
Clemson stopped taking our Florida recruits. Enough, please. Bama, you too.
Wait, what? What do you?
He was telling you to stop taking their recruits.
Sorry, that's kind of what we do. Clemson is situated in the state of South Carolina. It's not. I think it's a more talented state than people give it credit for, but you're not going to compete you're not going to win national championships just recruiting the state of South Carolina. You got to go into Georgia, Florida, the Carolinas, Tennessee.
You're really centrally located in all those areas. You can go into the SEC or anywhere, we're a couple mile flight, probably.
Here's most people don't realize Clemson is closer to the University of Georgia than it is to the University of South Carolina. That's they're in a really good, they can go over to Tennessee pretty easily. They can go up to the Carolinas. They go down into Georgia. Metro Atlanta, Clemson is, even before Dabo, they've recruited that area extensively. And
you're talking about the University of South Carolina, the real USC. Oh, hi Tim. Thanks for stopping by.
Todd Gwynn will tell you that is the real USC over there.
He would. I kind of go back and forth with that, because while they do have the argument that they existed first, they weren't called the University of South Carolina until the 1900s. So,
and I don't think anyone knew they existed until we just talked about them just now. Bowman, do you agree? No, I'm just kidding, Todd. I'm just kidding.
I was about to say, I was like,
Hey,
okay, we don't need to get any more offense. We're already hurting Miami fans in here for good reason. But now that's good. That's good. That's why we want to talk with Jordan first, because now we've got the West Coast people in here. I mean, I'm not on the West Coast right now, but the other game, and Connor's in the chat, so Connor wants to hear this. He wants to hear the take, because this was the question Connor asked earlier. If I can find it really fast. I don't think I can. It's buried in here somewhere. Oh, God. It's so far up here now. I should have started. It's gone. Connor asked, will Oregon State hold San Jose State to less points as Oregon State goes to San Jose State this weekend?
Not sure, Connor. Yeah, I'm not sure, Connor. If you get a platoon your entire defense. So usually these tune-up games, you'll start your starters in for the first 3 quarters, right? And then you pull everybody and mop up time. USC from the very beginning of this game was playing true freshmen all over the place. Matter of fact, at one point, Eric Gentry came into the game, who's going to be the starting inside linebacker with Mason Cobb, and they had 3 straight 3-and-outs. Now, earlier I just said that they didn't pass. If you think of remotely that I think the defense looked terrible at times. The biggest issue is the same issue they had last year. And when it comes, one of the issues is still there. They're giving up these huge explosives. And you know, if you're giving up explosives, then your stats are going to be skewed, but also the scoreboard is going to be different. And everybody in Vegas is going to hate you because someone said earlier, one thing we got to keep in perspective, you guys, is they won 56-28. It's not like this was a 35-28 game or it was ever in doubt. It did not remotely look like the type of defense that's going to get you to win the Pac-12 championship, let alone dream of playing in the playoffs. But I think what you saw out there wasn't USC starting 11. You know, you probably didn't even see like a couple of the backups. You were seeing third string guys out there getting significant snaps, and they did kind of treat this thing like it was a glorified scrimmage, and it showed. But if I told you guys, listen to this right here, right? So your defense going into any game, what if I told you that they're going to hold the other team to 5 of 14 on 3rd and 4th down? Would you take that? 5 of 14.
That's a pretty decent percentage. Yeah,
pretty solid number.
Yeah,
but it looked uglier than that because the same issues that Grinch's defense had last year, with those run fits, right? Sound gap defense. So that one gap defense that he runs, as well as setting the edge. And it was too aggressive. There were times it was like 3rd and 22, and he brings like a blitz, right? And they sucked him in, and everyone got in. Cordero, guys, if you guys are in the Mountain West, watch out for Cordero. And by the way, yeah, you Beavers, you watch him. You tell me next week, what do you think of this guy as a quarterback? Because he can hurt you with his arm and his legs. He's pretty damn good. But they got sucked in, and Cordero runs for 23 yards. I mean, it was just shades of last year, some of the same mistakes. So we know USC vastly upgraded their talent, but they're still seeing some of the same mistakes. Are we going to hope that it's just because it was that, again, they didn't have their starting guys in? They're kind of moving stuff around. But even then, I'm not trying to put down San Jose State in any way, shape, or form. And certainly they're not the caliber of the teams that USC is going to play. If USC played, let's say, UCLA today, the way they played, in that game, they're losing that game for sure. So they got to sort some stuff out. I'm hoping. Why I said earlier, somebody asked me, what do you mean, like the eyeball test? I mean the stats, really, guys. Someone talked about the show last night. They're like, oh, they had 7 yards of carry. I can't remember what they ended up being, but they averaged 7 yards of carry. When you give up the last 2 drives of the game, if you give up a 57-yard run and a 43-yard run on 2 carries, that's gonna skew your stats.
Yep.
That's and that was against the third stringers.
And this is what we said last week. I said it too. I expected the first quarter and a half to be kind of close, and then USC will pull away. And that's what you did do. I was just a little surprised, like you just said.
They didn't.
Something that caught my attention yesterday watching the game, and then immediately Jeff Schwartz, the former Oregon O lineman, also tweeted going, "Why are you being so aggressive on the 3rd and 20, 3rd and 21?
Yeah,
to let the quarterback scramble for a first down." I was like, "Oh boy, that's just bad assignment on the line." But regardless of the points, you guys pulled away just like predicted because it's San Jose State. They were going to get worn down eventually, and they did. They got worn down.
But there was a play towards here. So if you did watch the game, you guys will know what I'm talking about. The very end of the half, It's 21-7 USC. They're kind of,
That's-
they've been sloppy, but at this point, it's like, okay, they're going to pull away later on. They're just whatever. They're just kind of doing the thing. And the offensive series was terrible. They went backwards, and it ended up with Caleb Williams taking a really big sack. And so now you got your kicker kicking out of the end zone. They get great field position. They do a couple plays. It's like 8, 15, 12, 13 seconds left on the clock. And somehow the corner rotates towards the center, Jordan. And so there's no one over the top of the safety. And then you have Max Williams get lost in the coverage. And the guy just walks right in, is wide open in the front corner of the end zone. And this is with like
13
single digits
seconds.
left on the clock. What defense were we possibly in? We didn't have a cover 2. Why weren't we back there just waiting and say, you got maybe one play to score here? We're going to sit here at the goal line and stop you. It was a very weird, questionable play calling. The first time I've seen it that bad.
I mean, even if they were in like a too high shell, like that shouldn't have happened. I mean, that's not supposed to happen in a too high shell. Like if that's what they were playing, I haven't gone back and rewatched that play, but that was
there was definitely miscommunication or some. It was broken cover. It was a obvious busted coverage for sure. Whatever they were running. I was at the game, so I didn't really get to see everything, but there's just no excuse for that.
That I was when we first came on. That was exactly what I was talking about. Was that last 45 seconds of that first half? It's like you've got first down at your like 25-yard line. All you got to really do is run the clock out. And next thing you know, you got Caleb Williams taking a 20-yard sack with 40 seconds left in the half. It's like, what was that about? And then 3 plays later, they get a wide open over the top blown coverage for 40 yards to make it a 7-point game at the half. I was like, wow.
Yeah. Well, but now here's the question, Spaz and Ben and Jordan. They did the way they ran the end of that half was because they were playing San Jose State. There's no doubt about it. If they're playing Oregon and Autzen, they're up 21-7. Do you really think that they're going to try to run the clock out, go into halftime up 21-7, But they got cute. They got caught. And the weirdest thing about the offense is they were platooning in. They must have played at least 8 guys in that game in the line and significant snaps. The center and the left tackle stayed in to protect Caleb, but both guard positions and the right tackle were kind of rotating out. They're just rotating that around. And it was weird. But we're talking about all this, right? The line was what? 31? They won by 28.
Something like that, yeah.
And they won by 20. So they missed the line by 3 points, you guys. It's not like it's big picture stuff. What worries me as a fan and going forward is the way it looked. Because I don't care if it's your second string or even your third string. It was some of the weird play calling that went on. Again, maybe they're not taking the game the way they normally. I doubt they call that game that way if they're playing Washington, they're playing Utah, right? But the guys were put in a position that they had all off season. Even if they're brand new to the program, people say, "Well, they're bringing a lot of new guys." Yeah, but you had the entire spring and fall to get this together, and you still have busted coverage, and it was a bad busted coverage. It looked like they were not on the same page.
Well, one question too, Tim, is that and Roger Dodger actually brought this up right now. I want to move it. Are you concerned about this? Because after one of the sacks, Caleb looked slow to get up too. Are you guys kind of concerned about that? Because I mean, he ran around a lot yesterday, and I was like, oh boy, he's gonna get himself hit again a lot. And we know what running quarterbacks, they take hits. They're gonna take hits. They're gonna get.
I think that's just kind of who he is.
Up. I mean. It's who he is. It's part of his game, of course.
He got upset. But yeah, you can't, it is, you can't take that aspect of the game out for him. It's what makes him so dynamic. It's what helps the passing game is that fear of the run. I mean, it's just it's hard on defense to do all of it. But I mean, he took a big sack, but you know what? You also, if you want those big explosives that Caleb gives you as well, you got to take the good and the bad. I'll take a 15-yard sack once in a while if he's going to light up. I mean, he was 18 of 25 for 278 and 4 touchdowns in 3 quarters. Yeah. Now, again, that's against the Spartans, and not those Spartans, the San Jose State Spartans. But he had an amazing, great game. And if he got hurt, Caleb Moss came in and ran that offense. He was 6 of 10 for 63 yards right down the field. He ran it in for a final touchdown. I mean, it's going to be a huge drop off. But if they lost Caleb, it would go from, I think, still. I'm not throwing the towel in right now. I think they're still a playoff team. I was saying we're going 12-0. Unless that what we saw on defense today was yesterday was an aberration, that they're obviously not going 12-0, but they're still going to challenge. Even I think even with Caleb Williams out with Miller Moss, I think they could challenge for the Pac-12 still. Absolutely.
That's fair. I mean, that's it. It's part of his game. It's like Bo Nix. We're not going to tell him don't run, but you have previous injuries you have to be concerned about. So that's why I was like, because I saw him get up slowly once, I was like, oh no, not game one. Like, oh no, like that's, you don't ever want to see a player go down. It just sucks. But when you have a prior injury, it's going to be exacerbated. But Tim had to come in and talk some Trojan there for a second. But what do we think of Oregon State at San Jose State, though? Is it going to be a boxing match like they had last year at San Diego State? Wasn't it last year? The Beavers, they scored on the final play of the game to win it.
No, I think San Jose. So Oregon State has an amazing offensive line, and one thing I did notice that those guys, San Jose State's line, played tough. Those guys were stout, and they balled out. But I just think that they're going to play Beaver ball, and they're behind that big line and Martinez. Martinez is going to run for 200 yards, and they're going to shut it down. You probably won't get 200 yards. You'll shut them down probably in the third quarter. But I think they win handily. This isn't a situation.
I'm gonna be tuned in. I see what is DJ.
I know why you're tuning in.
Yeah.
I'm just as intrigued as everybody else to kind of see how he looks in that offense. I mean, the reviews out of spring were kind of mixed, but in fall camp, it was the reports where he looks comfortable and ready in this offense, and obviously that turned in him being named the starter. So. I want to see what he looks like in a different, a different system. Was it really, we'll get a lot of questions answered, probably not from the San Jose State game, but it'll be that first step into kind of getting some questions answered. Was it a Clemson thing? Was it a DJ thing? Was it a little bit of both? I tend to think it was, and kind of where all of that lies.
Well, they got Jonathan Smith, and the man has done. He's worked magic with less, in the sense of potential talent. So if he can correct DJ a little bit, I mean, as long as they don't have a drop off in some other area, the Beavs should be.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying the Beavs should be fine. I mean, remember, Tim knows it. It was a horror game for them last year. 17-14, against the Beavs.
The thing is I believe in that offense. I mean, Adrian Martinez is just a stud. That offensive line is amazing. And I do think that DJ is going to play. I mean, I don't know, Jordan. I just think that I think that he had some happy feet at Clemson at times. There's a lot of pressure on him. And he got those yips going. I'm hoping with a strong running game. Not saying that Clemson doesn't have a strong running game and amazing running back, but I am saying is I think that Jonathan Smith is a quarterback coach. He's almost like a quarterback whisperer. I mean, he made Gil Branson look good last year. Do you know what I mean? So,
yeah, that's what I was going to say.
At least confident. Yeah, he looked
right.
Okay, yeah. So
that's what I was going to say. Was Jonathan Smith is kind of like as the quarterback guru of college football, kind of like. What's his name in Denver now?
Sean Payton.
Sean Payton, thank you. Had a brain fart. They call Sean Payton and John Gruden were the two quarterback whisperers in the NFL, coaching-wise, the last 2 decades. And Jonathan
it's time
Smith
to stop putting that label on John Gruden, but
what?
I said it's time to stop putting that label on John Gruden. I have my own opinions on John Gruden, but it was irrelevant. It was kind of an aside.
I don't think, and at the end of the day, I don't think this game concerns the Beavers that much. Now that they've seen what San Jose State's going to try to do, and they're going to try to pull out a lot of formations, and a lot of movement, Oregon State's just going to do what they do. They're just going to line up. I don't think it's on the road, but just even like with USC, they're going to wear them out by the end of the game. I don't think the Beavers should have any. They have all the momentum coming into this season. They've got everything going for them, so I don't think this is going to be an issue. It'll still be, I think it's still a good game, though, to watch. I'm going to have to definitely try to catch it if I can. It's just there's too many damn games.
It's going to be the cream of the Big Sky crop.
Poor Oregon State. Stop being mean to the Beaver. Well, I only had one other game to really go over, and just because, again, I think I told you beforehand, especially this, I think this might be the sneaky good one, and this one actually kind of relates for me and Spaz a little bit, and that's Texas Tech at Wyoming. That's kind of a weird game. A lot of people would not look at that much, but Texas Tech then has to host Oregon the following week. So are they going to try to overlook a road trip to Wyoming?
I doubt it. I think they're really focused on that game because they know they've got a tough game and they got to have all their ducks in a row and be set when the quack comes rolling into Lubbock the following week. So they can't just rest on their laurels. They've got to be on their toes.
Yeah, I've got no opinions on this game. I mean, I think Texas Tech is interesting, and they're kind of internally they're kind of excited about what that team can be. That's about all I know. And as far as Wyoming, I mean, I think you would think that going on the road, it kind of makes things a little bit different because you have to dedicate just so much more time and into the game. I don't think it's a look ahead spot. Could be, but I don't know. Wyoming isn't particularly good, so I think they should be okay. They'll be okay. But
yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you, Jordan. I don't really know much of anything about Wyoming, but I know what Joey McGuire's doing at Texas Tech. You know, it kind of went under the radar last year. I think TCU stole all their thunder, but you know, they had their best season in about 10 years. And I mean, the Red Raiders play like they played last year. This game should be over pretty early. And I'm just going to assume that Wyoming's Wyoming. I'm just going to say that. You don't say anything up there because I know you'll get in trouble. But I mean, I just don't think they're going to have the horses even for a team for the zombie conference. So
I was waiting for the Big 12 shot. I was like,
the zombie conference.
I can't give them too much credit. You know, they are. You know, we were talking about this. Would you rather be a conference that dies a noble seppuku death, right? Basically, kill yourself off and make it go quick, or do you want to walk the earth for the next 5 to 10 years, a shell of what you used to be? I mean, you know, it is what it is. I guess they can call that a victory.
I mean, well, we talked about this last week. I mean, I've never seen a brand die so quickly. Like one day, it's done. We're going to be good. 2 days later, we're talking again. 5 hours later, it's over.
We're the conference champions. Oh, we're dead.
Can I ask you guys a serious question? I'm going to get you guys all in trouble right now. Do you see a current team in the Big 12 that you could see winning a national championship over the next 5 to 10 years? I'd give you a single one.
Well, I mean, TCU was never in a real shot of winning the national title, but they played for it.
No, but I mean, that's my question. That's not can they get to the playoffs because of the 12-team playoff, whatever. I mean, I'm saying, is there a team in the new Big 12 that has a remote shot? I mean, get like a moon shot.
No. I think UCF has some growing potential because of where they're situated and all of that. But they've never been considered on par with the Big Three in the state of Florida. All of that. It would take something drastic, but other than that, no, I don't
I have to say right here,
God, go
Utah
find your
maybe.
Mormon wives. We
No, I don't think
Okay,
Utah.
so Utah is a good question. I think Utah can make the playoffs and make a
They can
push.
make the playoff.
Yeah,
I just
they're
don't think
maybe
they
the
have
closest
players.
shot.
There's a few teams in the Big 12 that I think could make the playoff. I don't think that would be an issue. Are they ever going to have a team that is legitimately like they have the horses, they have the infrastructure, they have the coach, and all of that, the talent to legitimately compete for a national championship? No, I don't see that right now.
Ducati brings up a good point. I mean, ASU was a couple plays in the Rose Bowl with Jake the Snake, right? Yeah. A plumber of winning the national championship possibly. But first off, that was like 30 years ago. Also, now that we're moving into where the haves and have-nots are gonna be so massive. They're gonna be on streaming, and by the way, they think they're all doing this linear stuff. Where do you think? How many time slots do you think the Big 12 is gonna have on like these premium channels and stuff? It's not gonna be that situation. And the money for the Big 12, how are you to compete when you're making $30 million a year and everyone else is making 80, 90, and at some point 100 million, and you're sitting there making 30? It's going to be rough.
Well, we have some big news. We have some big news coming out, and I want everyone to take advantage of this from the man himself. From the man himself. That's a betting man. I mean, I'm not a betting man, but I'm not totally opposed to that type of statement.
I like my money. I don't have much of it, but I like what I do have.
I do too. I like to hold on to it.
I'm pretty much with Mark on that. I think Utah would be about the only team that might, and I say might, have a shot at a natty in the next 10 years.
Utah has been a tough team, coached excellently, where their players, they know what they do. They know their system. Whittingham gets the guys, develop the guys. They play strong, fundamental football. But as you see with a lot of I'm not going to point and name names. When you get to the playoffs and you're that kind of a team and you get up against a team that has just as good at coaching, but they have way better players, you see what happens in those games. And I mean, Utah has been absolutely the one really positive thing about the Pac-12 over the last 3 years. They've just been consistently really good. And I think they have a ceiling, that's where I'm going to leave it. Now, if somehow if they had gone into the Big Ten or they got in the SEC somewhere and they're getting that big money, even then, the way Coach Whittingham, runs his program, I don't know, because people think there's any coach can get Jordan, I'm talking about, get like a bunch of, when you're coaching a bunch of 5-star guys, it's a totally different culture and atmosphere in your locker room than if you have a bunch of, lunch pail dudes that come in, work hard, develop and play together, as the underdogs to take something out. It's a different story when you have a bunch of blue chip kids. You got to do it a whole different way. There's a whole separate set of skills you have to have as a coach. There's a whole different culture you have to have. And I just don't see that culture ever happening at Utah. Larry would probably tell me how I'm wrong, but what's the highest Utah's ever finished in recruiting?
That's a good question. One of our historians in the chat, our recruiting historians, get on that. That'd be great.
Hey, by the way, Chris Foote, 84 was the BYU were frauds, just so you know. Just to wake you up. The 84 Natty was a fraud.
The true evil of this is knowing that it's not a call-in show, so he can't respond.
Is that like the Washington title?
We get Chris out here to talk about the 84 BYU Cougars for 35 minutes.
Tim, is that like the 90? I think it was 90 Washington Huskies team that had the co-title.
Well, no, because that was Steve Edmond. That team, that defense was one of the best defenses I've ever seen in my entire life. So, no, that team's not fraudulent at all. BYU 84 fraudulent. Anyway,
hashtag 1984. Hashtag 1984 in the chat. Everyone get Mark riled up about that one.
I just had to get that out.
Is there any?
I've had Foot commenting in the chat the whole time, and I let it go. But
I know.
I just wanted to remind him of the Mirage says the 84 national championship.
Mm.
Somebody
They took out Utah took out Alabama, Mark, that one year when they went undefeated.
That was what? Who?
2 or 3 years ago.
That was like 2008.
No, I know, but he said name one. So I just named
Name
one.
one-
I don't
name
know if
one
that's a
time-
lead.
Alabama,
If we
Mark,
go back
go back
that
to bed.
far, yeah.
Name one time Cam Rising stayed healthy for the whole season. I mean, so it's like when has Sam
I
Rising
don't
ever
know.
finished a game against an elite team? Just
I
seems
can't
like
talk about injuries anymore.
Yeah, I don't want to think about injuries this early in the season.
well, I mean,
Good Lord.
even Penn State was an elite team last year. So I mean, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Mark's bringing up the point I'm kind of trying to make is that they can play great against very good teams. They can win a conference and they can do some damage. But when it comes to they always crap the bed early in the season. They've got the better team, but for some reason they end up losing to an inferior team early in the season, and then they get better and better and better as the season goes on. That's something when we always give Whittingham a lot of respect for being a coach. He's dropped a lot of early games he should not be dropped. It just seems like they take the time to warm up, and he gets a lot of credit, and he is a great coach. But why? It's kind of the question we had at USC. Pete Carroll would always do that. The first Pac-12 road game, either we would struggle or we would lose, and it was like, why are these guys ready?
No, go back and watch what I said about Utah.
Tim, 2006 in Corvallis.
Oh, you don't have to point out the years. I can name more if you want, but I'm not going to.
Well, no, but that's what I said about Utah earlier. I said, for some reason, we're talking about Utah, Florida. I said, Utah, for some reason, every year, the first 2 to 3 games, they're like just slow walking. And then they put it together and go on a tear. I don't know why. The first couple of games, it's like they just don't know what they're doing yet. It's weird.
Yeah, it was just
it
happens almost every year. That's why I'm hoping they got this Florida game at home. We now know they're playing with their third string quarterback, but it's the way it is, right? And so hopefully they are playing at Rice Eccles in front of the Must, which is, I'm telling you, I don't care what conference you're in. That's one of the toughest places in the country to play, without a doubt.
That stadium is brutal, yeah.
And this team. Sorry, was that Tim?
Well, it's not just a crowd. It's literally the only place I can think of that has I know Colorado's at altitude, but they suck. It's the only place at altitude in the country that has a decent team that's physical. Watch the teams that go up there. They get out to a lead, but it comes fourth quarter, and those big 300-pound guys are sucking air. It's going to be interesting to see what those big SEC dudes are doing late in the fourth quarter.
Well, they I don't know if this is true from search. I hadn't looked. I think they're keeping it. I think they're keeping it in the dark right now.
Yeah.
Well, no,
I think they're trying to keep it.
I mentioned this earlier. They did list Rising is listed as the starting quarterback in the preliminary depth chart. But how healthy really is he? Yeah,
that nobody knows yet.
Yeah, they're keeping it in the dark for that reason. I think maybe getting some sneak attack ready for Florida, because the next week they have to go to Baylor. Now that's for week 2 discussion, but this team 2 weeks in could be 0-2 or 2-0 against 2 good teams. So,
and they're probably I think there's 2 ways you could look at it. Do you want to win the Natty, or do you want to win the conference? If you're happy with repeating the conference and going out, dropping and say, all right, we're out. Thanks for playing. We just won the last 3 Pac-12 conferences. You sit them. But if you have any dreams of winning the national championship, you play him and roll the dice. But if he gets hurt, let's say he aggravates something, because it's not like people think that we have you come back from a knee injury and you come back, you're going to re-injure that same knee. No, it's usually because you haven't been moving around. It's something else pops, like an ankle or whatever, or something, because you just haven't been active. Of course you're going through your rehab, but it's always like there's some compensation thing that happens where it's another injury that happens because you've been off so long. And it'd be nice for Rising to get through a season healthy. The way he plays with reckless abandon is one reason why I love watching him play. But same time, is this why he never gets through a full season?
Yeah, that I'm thinking specifically that hit he took against USC last year in the title game, where his helmet came flying off and he got right back up.
Tough, because he's got the head of a Buick. I mean, that guy's got a head like a helmet. So I mean,
I know, but when that hit happened and his helmet flew off, I was like, and they killed him.
Yeah,
like I thought literally he was at least concussed.
That was a big hit.
He just got up.
Yeah,
he's a tough guy. Well, maybe he felt that concussion a couple of games later.
maybe. I wouldn't doubt it.
I'm with LFG. Utah's ceiling college football semifinal game appearance about on the same lines as Ohio State's lately, the last decade.
When the 12-team playoff rolls around, that's what I'm interested to see. Because I don't think Utah they don't play the way that where you're going to be in a position to make the 4-team. I mean, it could happen. Maybe they go 11-1, 12, who knows? But that's not just going off of the historical data. That's not something they typically do. That's not.
Yeah, that 12 team is going to open a whole new conundrum for so many teams.
Well, especially because the Pac-12 is gone. So.
Yeah, but it's also going to make it for teams like Alabama and LSU and Michigan can lose 2, maybe 3 games and still get in because they're that school.
It's going to be one of the last death, throws for the old 80s, well, up until now, NCAA football, because one of the greatest things about college football is the regular season counts. Even up till now, pretty much every, sure, you can get with one loss usually if you're in the right conference or whatever, but usually you lose one game, boom, you're gone. 2 games, you're definitely gone. Now the regular season is going to be meaningless. I mean, we might even start seeing guys sit out and stuff. Do you know what I mean? You're going to see starters sitting out once they know they're in they're in. You might see. I mean, I don't know. Actually, that's a bad point because of seeding, but I mean, the regular season is not going to be. It's not going to be the same. And the closer we get to NFL Junior, I think the closer we get to possibly killing the sport.
But on the 12-team playoff too, I mean, we might have to watch Kentucky get in there. Sorry, Duriel.
Maybe not.
I wouldn't worry too much about that happening too often.
Hey, listen, it'd be great to pull them for a first round bye. So I mean, you're hoping Kentucky gets in.
Shots fired.
I'm not co-signing the Kentucky slander. I'm not going against it, but I'm not co-signing any.
Is there any other week 1 games coming up? We just covered. I mean, it was a small amount of the games. Is there any others that look exciting to you on your list?
Almost everybody's playing this week.
Yeah.
I'd say almost everyone. Yeah, I'd say pretty much almost everyone, unless they have that weird first week bye, which I think a lot of teams are fighting against getting because that's.
How about MTSU against 4th-ranked Alabama, the lowest-ranked Bama team in 15 years, 16 years?
What, preseason?
Yeah.
So they have the quarterback situation, but they've had the number 1 or number 2 recruiting class for the past, 6 years. So no matter what, you're going to go up against a really talented team. I mean,
they're only a 40-point.
Only a 40-point.
I mean on the season.
But I 40 points this week.
Yeah, I have no comment on the Alabama Middle Tennessee State game. So I don't.
I'm surprised there's even a line on that.
I know. I just saw
good question mark.
I mean, no, I don't even want Tennessee and Virginia. I don't really want to talk about that one either. Don't think that one's going to be any good.
Did you guys talk about TCU covering easily over Colorado?
We did not really cover that. We talked a little bit briefly, but
we brushed over it. Yeah.
That's
in talking about something.
I want to say about this. The one thing I want to say about that game. I will be glad as hell and happy and dancing on a cloud when TCU dumps 56 points or more on Colorado, and we no longer have to see these 18 commercials a day of "Here comes Dion," dun, 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 on college football. Everything, at least once an hour. Today, all day, it's all I've seen is a commercial of Dion.
They're going to have a rough start, so I think you're still going to see it. And by the way, you're not allowed to call him Dion. You must call him Coach Prime.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
Prime.
Coach Prime.
That's
Coach Prime.
correct. I forgot. I stand corrected. Thank you, Tim.
I do think Colorado is in for a rude awakening. I get the hype, I get the buzz. He changed the roster. We get that, but he's got to play TCU. Then they have to go to Nebraska, right? Is it Nebraska?
I believe it's Nebraska.
And then week 4, they have to go to Autzen. They're in for a rude awakening, like of the level of play they're going. This schedule is brutal for them to start the season.
Well, no, they play. I just looked it up. They play Colorado State in between Nebraska and.
Okay. Still, that first 4 game stretch.
That's gonna be their one win. They're gonna start. I think they're probably gonna start 1-3, and then after they leave Autzen, guess what? They get to come to USC to get the Coliseum and play USC.
Then you after? Oh God.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a pretty brutal start for them.
Yeah, that is rough. That's rough. That is rough.
Ow! What a gauntlet.
At least Colorado does play Stanford, so that's their break game.
Okay, so they get 2 wins this year.
There you go. Here you go, Tim. Or well, actually, Jordan. This is for Jordan. Interesting. This is another could be a sneaky good game.
I responded to that one.
Did you?
Yeah, under 55.5. That's I would put my money on that.
Yeah, because it's Cal at UNT.
Betting advice. I don't really have much analysis for this game.
That's kind of an odd one. Cal at UNT. That's kind of a weird one. Could be interesting, but it's Cal, so I don't know what to expect from Cal. Defense, and that's about it. Although that quarterback they had last year, he did show some promise.
Plummer? Well, he's at Louisville now.
Yeah.
He's
gone. Oh,
and you know that really nice receivers Curvant, he's gone too. So
yeah.
Oh God, never mind. Just defense.
They lost their best off. Well, I mean, Jaden Ott's still there. He's really good, but
odd, but yeah.
Cal lost both of their quarterbacks.
I'm not sure. Search they lose a back. I don't know. I'm not gonna lie. Who is their backup?
They didn't lose their backup, but they did lose Jack Plummer, who had as bad as that offense was, he had a decent season. I think he threw 21 touchdowns, 8 picks.
Yeah. Plummer. We saw Plummer with me. We played Cal, and I was like, man, he made some good plays. I was like, okay, they actually have someone. If he's gone, I'm like,
yeah, no, he went to Louisville to play for his old coach, Jeff Brom.
And see, if Search doesn't know his name, if Search calls him the kid and doesn't know his name, he can't be that good. I'm just kidding, Search.
He's not.
So here's the worry. The best way to waste a great running back is to have. We already know that Cal's going to struggle on their offensive line. At least with Sturman, they had like the ability to take the top off the defense, and they could open up. They could open it up. There's that worry of that. But if they don't have a dynamic passing attack and then they have a mediocre to poor offensive line, it's gonna be like, remember all those years where you had Barry Sanders with Detroit, and then you had Emmitt Smith with the Cowboys, right? What's the difference? One of them had like Hall of Fame or all pro offensive line, and the other one, except for his first couple of years, were actually pretty good line. But he was buried behind. That's really why he retired, because he had no help in front of him at all. And so I think poor Jaden Ott's going to have that same situation where I think he's a very good running back, but with no passing game and a mediocre offensive line, I think he might see a step back this year.
Cal. Poor Cal. I don't want to get into Justin Wilcox. Have great respect for him, but oh my God, that guy, I don't know what he's doing at Cal.
I mean, yeah, he turned down your program. You guys wanted him. He's like, nah.
No. We told him you cannot bring your staff, and he was like, never mind.
Was that a deal breaker?
that was the deal. Apparently, that was the deal breaker. I'm like, thank God. When I heard
they wanted him, but they wanted to bust the staff up, and he said no.
Yeah, apparently, that's what came out. Oh, here we go. Look at this. Ooh, Hawaiian Stanford. That's right. Stanford goes to Hawaii this week. That's right. That was overlooked. I don't know. Hawaii.
Oh, they
played
play
pretty-
USC. They play USC the following week. So
Hawaii played, I mean, decently against Vanderbilt. Again, they were on the drive to potentially tie or win the game. But I don't know if that's Vanderbilt or if that's Hawaii. And Stanford, we have no idea what to expect.
I've got nothing for you there. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Is there a line on this game? I'm afraid to ask.
There probably. I mean, why wouldn't there be?
Yeah. No, yeah, people.
It's Stanford -7. Well, yeah. It is on. They're at Hawaii, so
Yeah.
they have. I've always wondered how they bake in Hawaii's home field advantage. Like, is that? I wonder how they value it.
It's not much of an advantage.
Well, yeah, it's not much. Well, it's not much of an advantage. Not like playing in the stadium is not much of an advantage.
But just the
like,
travel at the time, the jet lag.
Yeah. I wonder how they power rate that. I wouldn't know.
I could see Stanford winning this. I guess I could see them by 3 or 7 points, but they're definitely not going to blow Hawaii out. That's for sure.
I've got no. I really have no. I haven't spent any time. I admit it. I'm gonna have to at some point very soon here, but I don't expect much from Stanford at all.
I don't either.
I mean, I've been really lazy. In a couple of these programs, even the Pac-12. I'm like, I guess, but I can pretend like I'm gonna care about this game. But I'm having a hard time. I'm having a hard time.
Yeah,
I have no play right now. I would need to do.
Us as the Pac-12 people have to apologize that we don't follow Stanford, Colorado, necessarily to a tier, or Cal, because we're like those are like our win games.
I thought Stanford stopped playing football a couple years back. I was shocked to say they're still playing.
That's perfect for the ACC. We don't care.
Oh man,
come on down, Stanford.
Oh god.
Welcome to the ACC. I expect.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much, Matt Britson, for the question there. Because I don't know. That's a coin flip to me. To be honest, I have no idea what to expect from Stanford at all.
Well, I mean,
to be honest,
it's just an honest call. I mean, please, Serge, do you have any information? I mean, you're a Cal guy. Maybe it's the rival thing. I know. I mean, you're a UCLA guy, but. I've got nothing for them. Sorry. Some of these programs are just gutted, and it's just kind of they say that certain schools leaving, like Washington or Oregon or USC, caused the collapse of the Pac-12. I think that a lot of these teams left the Pac-12 as well. Just that they were rolling teams out there, but they weren't rolling out there anything that's gonna move the needle for anything, and that's other big part of why the Pac-12 sucks.
Yeah, that's been part of the problem in that regard. And we could have a special night. We could have definitely a special night at the end of the season as a complete memoriam with highlights of the best moments of the Pac-12, minus USC stuff, because no one cares.
Yeah, why would you?
I don't need you to take up the whole highlight reel.
Northwestern could go 0-12. He's right. They got a mess.
Yeah, they have a new coach. Northwestern was a disaster last year, so
they don't even have a new coach. They have an interim. They're not going to hire a coach this year.
Oh, they haven't even actually hired him
they're going to save their coaching search till after the season. So the interim is going to be the guy the whole year.
Oh, sheesh. That's almost worse, but at the same time, that guy might work his ass off to get that job too.
Possibly, yeah. I mean,
you never know, but it's not going to be good.
Well, it's not the same as the Brent Key situation, but the interims, if you do well, I mean, depending on the program,
it's not going to be a good season though. But if they can even get 3 wins, that'd be a huge improvement compared to last year.
Yeah,
especially on U.S. soil.
Yeah, it'd be great if they could win a game like in somewhere in the state of Illinois. That would be great.
Maybe at their stadium for their fans.
Yeah, and that'd be ideal. They haven't done much of that.
All right, guys. Well, we have covered a lot tonight because week 1 is about to get started. I mean, again, Thursday night, Utah and Florida. It's going to be good. Everyone's going to be watching that game for the most part, I think, outside of your Midwest people. But I just want to thank everyone here, even the late bloomer here of Tim. I mean, the one who showed up late. Sorry, misspoke there. For jumping in here. Jordan and all of his knowledge as usual. Jordan, what is your expectation for you this weekend?
I'm just going to have fun watching college football. It kind of sucks that it's kind of annoying being, playing on Labor Day because we've done it the last 2 years now. We played Georgia Tech on Labor Day last year too. It's kind of like, oh, I get to watch all these games, and I'm just like at the same time in the back of my head, I'm thinking about, oh man, Clemson is going to be playing on.
Why do you guys keep getting that slot? Why does no one else get that slot?
I don't know, because the ACC just doesn't. They're not very good at doing anything, and they just why they want their marquee matchup to be. Sure, they want to spotlight the biggest, at least currently the biggest name in the conference, but when you're playing Duke, and that's I don't know. I mean, obviously they're not going to pit Clemson and Florida State against each other in week one. They wouldn't have been able to anyway. But I think it's silly, and but hey, it is what it is. I'm just going to enjoy this weekend. I'm just happy college football's back. And we got great games on Thursday, Friday. Well, not really anything on Friday, but Saturday and Sunday, and then obviously, and then you've got Monday too. So like 4 straight days, essentially, of exciting games.
You just went running back.
So you're not predicting to get a win? That's your way to dodge that question?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. I think Duke by about 3 scores. No, we'll see.
Tim, what do you think?
Tech.
Sorry, Jordan.
Yeah, that's going to be a riveting game. No, I actually am interested to see that. I think people are kind of sleeping on Georgia Tech a little bit. I think that Jeff Collins didn't recruit poorly. That roster is in better shape than people think, and they. I think Brent Key. You saw kind of a shift in how that team played. I think Georgia Tech can make a bowl game. That's kind of what I don't think Georgia Tech's like a ACC championship contender, but I think they're going to be more competent than people think.
Tim, what do you think? You have to take on the mighty Wolfpack, and we actually have our Wolfpack man in here somewhere. What do you think about that, having to play Nevada?
The Wolfpack, they have a lot of Pac-12 guys over there. Like Sean Dollars, you guys know him, running back from Oregon.
Yeah.
I think he was a modern day kid, and then he transferred over to Nevada, and then also John Jackson III. He transferred from SC. It's going to be a situation again where you're going to have a tale of 2 different rosters, and it'll be interesting what USC does. Let's see if how they decide to put their starters in, how they utilize their team. I think there's going to be a lot to do to fill some of those issues they had and misses in that first game. Clearly, there's issues with coverages still. I'm thinking as they get closer and closer to some of their Pac-12, starting to get towards the meat of this, the Pac-12 schedule starting up, I think they can't play around as much as they did with the San Jose State game. So it'll be interesting to see. Hoping to see they clean up. All I want from them is to get through the game healthy. I'd like to see Caleb out by halftime and out of the game, not knocked out of the game. By the way, get all excited by halftime, and then. I think they cover. Again, they missed the cover by 3 points in the last game. People seem like they were a nail biter. There's a 31-point margin, and then they lost by 28. But I will admit that the defense just looked absolutely sloppy out there, and the numbers are skewed. Someone kept bringing up the running issue. When you give up 57 and 43 on the last 2 drives, I mean that's going to change your running number. So I look for a lot of improvement. I think the offense is fine. It's just going to see. That'd be interesting too. Are they going to keep rotating the guards, or are they going to allow this team to gel? Because this team does need to start getting some reps together. So we'll see.
That's a fair point. That's it. A lot of transfers in, and a lot of teams have that. So yeah, they got to still work together.
I wouldn't know what that's like.
Oh well, okay, yeah. Well, you're unique.
You're not worried about your O-line, Tim, at all then?
There's a guy I keep forgetting his name. He gives you a lot of I told Tim Prangley that I'm worried about hey, listen, anytime you replace your 3-year starting center and an All-American left guard, I mean, the guy would have been a high second round, if not first round draft pick if he hadn't blown his knee out in the combine. He still put up more reps than anybody on the bench press with an ACL tear. So I mean, losing those guys, of course there's nobody on that line that was a starter last year at their position. We got a couple guys that moved. We got Monheim that moved from right tackle to left tackle, and we got Didic to move from right guard to center. But they got to gel. They got to show they have the talent. They brought in guys, Kingston from Washington State, Tarquin from Florida. They got the dudes. But as we know, offensive line, you can't just throw out 5 really good players and hope and think they're going to kick ass. They need those reps together, and that's gonna be the question. Can they gel by the time they get to, let's say, the Notre Dame or the Utah games? If they don't, it's gonna be a rough season. But I'm banking on they do. I think Henson's a good coach.
Well, there we go. That brings us to Spaz, because I mean, you and I have the same kind of things because obviously we're playing the same opponent this weekend. So, what do you expect to see against the dangerous Portland State Vikings?
The Vikings of Portland State from downtown Portland, which I am just a few miles away from. They have a vaunted passing attack at Portland State. I think the guy's name is Neil Lomax. He's a great quarterback, man. He's got an arm like a cannon. Oh, wait, that was like 1976.
I'll say Neil Lomax. What the hell?
I have no idea.
I'm showing my age here. No. If Bo Nix and Bucky and those guys aren't like on the bench by early third quarter, and it's not like 35-3, I'm going to be a little bit worried. But other than that, I think we easily cover the spread, and it's probably 59-13, something like that. Portland State's just terrible. They're almost ready to kill that whole program up there. They got nothing.
I'd say the same as Tim, because we have 4 guys that weren't starters on our line this year after last year having all returners. But those guys rotated in a lot. And there are a couple of transfers that we brought in. So the same thing. They have to gel. They have to gel together. They have to know how each one moves. They have to know all that stuff. I just want to see our defense, especially our secondary, be in the right places with all the transfers. Second year in the system for a lot of those guys. Up the pressure on the D-line, get some more sacks, and takeaways. Maybe get 2 or 3 takeaways in this game, and I'd be like, all right. And then just get out of the game healthy. That's it. To back up some reps.
Well, I mean, Cristobal stacked you guys with so offensive line talent. Even though they may not have started last year, you guys are going to roll.
Exactly. Well, and they rotated those guys a lot, so they all have really good experience together for the most part. So I just want to see the same thing. Early third quarter, get the starters out, put in Ty Thompson or what's his name?
No, don't bring Ty in. He'll throw an interception.
Well, that's true too. Okay.
What is his first career pass and interception?
I know. Or bring in Novacek and let him get some reps. And
they said Ty's improved in fall camp.
I would hope so.
I really hope so. Yeah, he's been about either a miss, either that was one of the absolute worst recruiting rankings of all time, or the worst development. You got to take your pick, or maybe a combination of both, because we all know, boys, that it's where quarterbacks go to die. I'm saying
I think it's a combination, because I mean he's been over different staffs, OCs now. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with him. I have no idea. So at least get Novacek in there too, a little bit of the third string, let him get some more reps, because I think he'll be probably the starter next year, or at least number 2. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll have Dante Moore by the end of the year, because I'm sure he's going to bounce.
He'll NIL back to you guys?
Yeah.
You think so?
Serge is like, no.
We're devastated.
Hey,
I
listen,
mean,
you never know.
not
I
happy.
mean, you never know because well, actually, UCLA has a pretty good schedule, but if for whatever reason Chip Kelly were let go, I think you guys. That's the thing people forget about when these recruits come and then maybe they're really close to committing to you, or say they were previously committed to you, but they went somewhere else. That means there's interest there, and so if there's ever something down the road that, hey, I'm not saying that Moore's going to transfer. I'm not saying that Kelly's going to get fired, but a lot of fans, I've seen them do it. They just start shredding these kids on social media after they go somewhere else. That's really dumb because your coaches, they have established relationships with these guys, and not that these players care that much about what fans say, but I could see, it's not beyond because it was close, right? I mean, he was committed to you guys, right? He decommitted.
Yeah, he was committed, and then he backed out the last minute and ended up going down to UCLA.
The big question is going to be for you guys, more than anything else, is the Will Stein situation. Losing Dillingham, even in this game, I want to see how crisp and how well. You really can't learn that much when you play a team like Portland State, but it will be interesting to see. It's going to be vanilla as hell. So actually, never mind. We'll wait a couple of weeks, but at some point, I'm gonna be interested to see what is the effect on Bo Nix, because Bo Nix had this, right? Because Dillingham was with him at Auburn too, right? So I mean, so it's kind of like it's the same thing. It's almost like a carbon copy of Washington. You have a previous guy that comes over and is a new head coach, and they have these renaissance seasons. Their careers get kind of turned around. It'll be interesting to see was that just Bo Nix's natural development, or was it he was really comfortable with Dillingham and that system up at Oregon, and what's going to be the difference on Nix? Because you guys go as far as Nix will take you. And if Will Stein is not the dude, or that confidence factor or whatever mojo that Nix caught last year that had been missing in his career before that, it'll be interesting to see what the change is in his gameplay going from one coordinator to another.
There are some things that the one thing, and I agree 100%. That's something I'm looking for is Christmas in the offense. Obviously, we're not going to see a ton of special stuff. We're not going to see it against Portland State. We're going to save that for Texas Tech. We don't want to put stuff on film. The one thing they said is already they left Bo Nix in charge of changing the plays. They are going to leave him in charge like last year. He could change the play at the line. He could call his own play if he needed to. And Stein's not going to change the offense that much because, like you said, why fix what's not broken? So that gives a little continuity. So hopefully we're going to see, obviously, decision-making. I think Lanning learned a lot last year with the fourth down calls sometimes. So we're going to see. It's going to be
Stein is running Dillingham's offense?
He's not changing a lot of the offense. He's like, why change something that's not broken? So he's changing it, but he's going to leave a lot of the verbiage the same to make it easier for everyone. He's going to do all that. He's been open about that, and I'm like, you know what? I don't blame the guy. I mean, so we're going to see. It's going to be interesting. If we don't score at least 50 or more against Portland State, I'm going to then be going, oh, we might have problems if we don't score more than 50.
It's not going to show up. What I just said is not going to show up until Bo Nix is pressured in pressured situations. And I'm hoping, even though you do have some changes on the offensive line, that you're not going to be challenged, nor is he going to feel uncomfortable back there with a Portland State pass rush. So we'll see.
Yeah. All right. Well, once again, everyone, we have been on here way longer than planned. But you know what? It's been rolling smoothly. The chat's been popping. You guys are enjoying yourselves, and that's what matters here. And we still got Connor here. Connor, why are you still here? Go build a dam or something. I don't know what you do in your free time. Oh,
yeah, but this is the point. This is the point he's bringing up. And well, first off, everyone's, the Willingham stuff's on tape as well. So is Smith. So is Chips. I'm not sure the point you're making here. Everyone is.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I think one silver lining of like what USC's experiment was rotating around is the new guys that came in. Go ahead and look at the game film. There's not going to be a lot of reps for these guys, so maybe that's part of this madness. I've got no idea why they're doing what they're doing, but everybody's tape is out there right now. So The ones that will be interesting might be if Will Stein changed his offense, but you're saying that he's going to keep a lot of the
tight end sets. The tight end sets are going to change because we did lose a couple tight ends. So he's not going to go with the same lineup offensively on the line necessarily because we just don't have the depth. We only have Ferguson and Herbert, and then I think a true freshman. But anyways, we're going to figure that out very soon. It's coming up Saturday, and I'm looking forward to it. But we have Matt Ritson who had to come back in. Oh yeah, ASU imposing their old bowl ban this year. Yeah.
It's always great to impose a bowl ban when there's a good chance you won't even make a bowl. So there you go.
Yeah.
And you eliminate the potential punishment 1-2 years from now because they're like, okay, you guys impose this on yourself, so we're going to be nicer to you.
It was like Tennessee electing to ban themselves from a bowl game in the COVID year when they won 3 games. That's
right.
It's a smart decision. It's a smart choice. It is a very smart choice.
Does the Island of Misfits toys still have a bowl tie-in with anybody?
I imagine they still do. I don't think that changed, but
okay. Just checking.
It's a very smart choice, I think, by ASU this year. Just say, you know what? Don't worry about it. This is their building year, anyways, under Kenny Dillingham after Herm Edwards. So it's not a bad move. I think that's a good move to do. Get it out of the way. Year one, NCAA will be nicer to you. They might say, hey, you get 2 less scholarships or something after this, and that's about it, or something like that. If anything,
here's my question for the end. Does Kenny Dillingham now possibly leave after the end of 1 year at Arizona State for a greener pasture in a more predominant conference if there's a job offer?
Is it? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought Dillingham is an ASU guy.
Yeah, it's his alum. So I would think he'd be there at least 3, 4, 5 years, and then if he builds it up into a 9-10 win team, and someone else came and tried to get him, maybe. But I would think he'd be there for at least 3 or 4 years.
If they're in the Big Sky or whatever,
Big 12.
Big Sky, Big Sky, Big 12, same thing. Yeah.
Jesus. Just pissed off the entire Big 12 community.
Here in Big Sky, that takes me back to
I'm looking at the chat. No one's here for the Big 12. They're hiding because they're embarrassed.
That takes me back to playing NCAA basketball 10 and shit, man. Big Sky.
Yeah, I know. I think Dillingham will stay there unless he's winning 9-10 games a year and some really big school came for him. But at that point, ASU will probably be bumping him up in pay raises anyway. So I mean,
and that's a really good point. That actually, because we didn't think about the way. Well, no, sorry, Big 12. So they're not going to have a lot of money. But if there is interest from a lot, like you said, because the haves and have-nots, that's another thing to remember about the Big 12 and maybe even to some degree, Jordan, the ACC. These other programs are going to have a hell of a lot more money to spend on coaches. And you guys, we always get caught up in how much the coaching staffs, the coach is making. These coaches also want a budget for their coaching staffs. Right. When you talk about Georgia or Alabama, Clemson or Ohio State, Michigan, their payrolls are massive. And of course, the head coach get a lot, but there's also a hell of a lot going to coordinators, etc. And when you're making $30 million a year, and I don't know what your budget is, your stadiums only holds 50,000 people. I mean, oh, sorry, Duck guys. Sorry, Duck fans. I'm sorry. You guys are coming along with this. Hey, Ben, and did you guys hear my nickname for the Ducks?
We hold 82,000, so we're exempt from that threshold.
Yeah, I did bring a Clemson.
What is it, Tim, before I kick you out of the stream?
Well, should I do the Huskies first, or do you want to hear the Ducks first? So it's
the Ducks, and then I want to laugh at the end with the Husky one.
Okay, so you guys are the discount Ducks, right? Okay. Because you guys are coming in on discount. And then we have the half-off Huskies. What do you think? Do you think it'll catch on?
The half-off Huskies. They're both pretty good. Those are both pretty good.
Yeah. Hey, discount double check, baby.
Those are both pretty good. Those are both pretty good, actually. Half-off Huskies.
Hey, hold on really quick before we go. Panel, do you think the 2003-2004 SC teams were fraudulent?
I think any natty that Clemson didn't win is fraudulent.
Okay, good answer.
Wow. No, I think Reggie
No.
was screwed. And
I mean, they probably couldn't beat the 84 the Cougars, but I don't think they're fraudulent.
No, and I hope Reggie Bush gets every bit of money coming his way for what the NCAA did to him.
It's just a matter of time.
Yeah. No, not fraudulent. Not fraudulent. Even from the Duck people here for the USC guys. Not fraudulent.
Just
Even though I
curious.
hate
That's what was on my mind.
Even though SC still sucks.
Yeah.
And they still can't tackle very well.
I agree. SC does suck. We're not talking. I don't think.
No, that's the other SC you're talking about. Todd Glenn, please plug your ears.
2006 Corvallis, Pete Carroll. That's all I'm going to say.
Why don't you? I mean, why stop there? There's plenty more where that came from.
All right. You calm
Social
yourselves down here.
talk to you about a game.
We're about to get ourselves in trouble with Mark here. I think Mark went to sleep finally, at least, so that's a good thing. Is there any other
fans should be asleep by now?
Is there any other game or topics?
Finally, a reasonable take. Alex in here posted backs. Yeah, I agree, man. Everybody. Bye, Tim.
Oh, did you kick him or did he kick himself?
I didn't
out?
kick him. He let. Oh, he's
Oh, okay. I was like, I didn't kick him. I was doing other things. So I was like, what happened to
He
him?
kicked
I
himself.
thought he was like, man, how is he doing these magic tricks? That's
yeah. I was like, why is he? Stop it, Tim. That's the problem when we have too many of us have control in the background. We can add, then you accidentally remove yourself like without noticing.
That's always a good time. Yeah, that's why I don't even touch it.
It's the SC rehab shuffle.
Oh man. All right, everyone. I think we're going to get out of here. It is a late night. Jordan, I appreciate you staying up really late because you said you got to work.
I do. This was a horrible decision.
This one a lot later. I was going to cut it.
You be up at 4?
No, I got to get up at 7, but
I thought you said 4.
It's not too bad, but still.
Yeah, no, okay. If I had to get up at y'all wouldn't be seeing me.
It's 12. It's 12 here. It's after midnight here. This went way longer than I was expecting it to, but we're still been rolling along. So it's like
still early for me and Tim. Shit, we can go another 2 hours.
I'm sure.
I don't know about that one, but yeah.
Yeah.
I do like the fact that I get to. This is what I miss, Ben. You just be able to not have to prepare anything for the show. I can just kind of roll it here and assault the Big 12 and not have to bring anything to the party. So it's fun.
Well, again, Tim, too, thank you. I know you were doing with your other stuff with Joey earlier for Travel Pools, which, again, in the chat, please, if you can, I'm going to post this GoFundMe link for our friend Traveling Fools. Please help if you can. Donate to him here at this GoFundMe link. As I mentioned at the beginning of the show, anything helps, even $1. I put out some money earlier also. If you can, at least keep them in your thoughts. It's definitely needed right now because, rough time, life happens, and we all need a little support here and there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And if the Spaz, at least you're done eating now.
Yeah.
That's good. Not eating on camera anymore. That's always nice.
It's always good look, huh?
I don't think I ever
Spaz, I gotta tell you, there's nothing better than eating on camera.
Especially when you're trying to sneak bites, you're like this.
There's no graceful way to do it. I've tried. It just doesn't work.
And I always have like the worst food choices possible. Like I have like barbecue wings or some
spaghetti or something where you're like,
it's a disaster.
It's been fun though. Thank you, Ben. Thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate it.
It has been fun. And again,
now you know there's 2 ducks you got to bury.
It'll be fun. Let's see if I can. Let's see if Ben lets me back in. I don't know. There's always that question.
He can let himself in. That's the kind of the sad part. There's no mod control. There's no mod control.
It's duck season. well, that's.
Yeah, but thank you. Really appreciate it.
The duck did nothing wrong. Leave the duck alone.
Yeah, that little dog that was shooting.
Are you coming up here in October, November, Tim?
If I can get a ticket, you got a ticket for me, Spaz?
Yeah, they're a little spendy right now.
Oh yeah, I bet that shit.
Your stadium holds what, like 25,000 or something?
Oh, easy now.
But seriously, if you give me a ticket, listen, when you guys drop 3 or 4 games, it'll be easy for me to get a ticket. I'll wait till like.
Well, likewise, if you do.
Yeah, no doubt.
Ticket prices will drop immediately. That's just how it happens.
Yeah,
I don't see it, but I think it's going to be one of those games where it's one of the game of the year.
If we're both undefeated, that'll be a game day week. Absolutely.
Yeah, and that depends on who. That I've thought that in the past, but you got to look at it. That's late in November. There's going to be some damn good games on out there. And as much as we think ours is a big game, there might be a big SEC or a Big Ten game that'll.
But if we're both somehow undefeated or even just one loss each, it's going to be a big game. So we'll see when we get there. It's still a ways away. But it's going to be a good.
Well, we're going undefeated. I'm not sure about you guys, but if you guys can get together, we can make something happen.
Oh man, I'm so excited.
Mark's got connections. He can make it happen.
Yeah, he does, but he can make it happen. But will he make it happen for me? That's the big question.
It's true.
Right? And the receipts that are going to be had on this show are going to be glorious. I'm so happy. I'm so excited.
That's how Jordan. That's how the internet works. That's why if you're going to do it, don't say your team's going to 11-1.
Go all in.
Because if you're going to go, you go big. Because here's the thing. Here's the thing. They won't give you any. No one will remember anything you said right in August. They're only going to remember the 4 or 5 things you say wrong. So if you're like, I don't know, if you're a dumbass and you say your teams are going undefeated and that your defense is going to go from being 100 to the top 40 in the country, they're going to remember that stuff. But they're not going to remember what you get right. But that's that's the whole thing about coming here on camera and opening your mouth. You just got to be ready for what's coming in November.
Yeah,
fun, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No one here is going to lose their job. You know what I mean? No one here is going to lose anything. Oh, it's why it's fun.
Well, Mark could block us all tomorrow and via text and email and restrict our access to everything, and we'll be like,
he might after today.
I got fired. I got fired. All right, Jordan, plug your show, because I know you got stuff coming up, obviously, as your season kicks off.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter, I'm still calling it Twitter, at Jubbo0209 is right there. Make sure you check me and Tiger Paul Craven out on the Clemson Voice of College Football channel, All-In Show. We go live every Thursday at 7. We also we're going to do pregame and postgame shows. So we're going to go live right after the Duke game on Monday. So you make sure you guys tune into that as well. If we somehow lose, that'll make it even more fun. As some of you know from some of our post-game shows from last year. So it's a great time. Tune in, whether you're a Clemson fan or not. Love to have the interaction. So we'll see you there.
You guys, if you're not, I mean, I wasn't a Clemson fan. I mean, I like Clemson, but I wasn't a Clemson fan until I started watching Jordan. You guys got to go over there and check it out. It's a great show. I mean, it's a great college football show. It's one of those shows you get smarter if you watch it.
Much love down here.
All right, you laid it on. Stop it.
No, it's true. It's true.
Much love down here.
It's not like
too,
Ben. You go in his show, you don't hear anything. You top notch. Sorry, Ben.
I appreciate it.
No, you're good. You're good. I just shouting out Travel Fools dropped in. Much love, Travel Fools. Obviously,
I love you, Fools. Hopefully, you give me a call the next day or so.
Yeah, and I'll reach out to you too, Travel Fools. I've been giving you a quiet weekend, obviously, because a lot going on. So sometimes I feel it's better not to bother people than to be seen as maybe a burden or a hassle in some situations. But much love. We're here.
Yeah, we love you. I'm praying for you, man.
Love you, TF.
Tim, I'm gonna let you plug because I know you got a lot going on too, obviously over there.
I really don't. I'm really enjoying this. Sunday nights off. This is my first Sunday night off in like, I don't know, months, 25 weeks, and I'm really digging it. But tomorrow, I think I might invade Mark and Matt's show. I don't know. They don't know it yet. Don't tell them. Hopefully, he's not watching. But if not, I'll be on the Pac-12 show. The guys were getting back together again on Saturdays, right after the show. It'll be a great show after it's a home game. So I'll probably be showing up a little bit late to it, but it's always a great time, Tony, to get this thing kick-started. And then also this week, I'm putting out my second. If you haven't already watched it, please go check out my Phil Steele interview. It's really cool. Let's preview the Trojans. He goes over some of the players, some guys that were All-Americans, some guys that just missed his All-American list. And then I got the next one coming out for you Duck fans and Utah fans and Washington fans. I'll be going into the fact that, which one of these guys is going to knock off USC and keep them from winning the Pac-12. And so even some detail about that. That'll be in the second video I'm dropping for the second half of the interview. So that's it. Thanks a lot, Ben.
Sounds good. Spaz, I know we're going to repeat each other, so I'll just let you go.
Nah, I'm gonna bounce, dude. I'm gonna let you finish it this week.
Okay. And he's like, yeah, Phil Steele, I'm out of here.
I'm good. Phil Steele got me. He beat me up tonight.
What did Phil Steele do to you?
It's
right.
that duck poop he keeps throwing.
All right, Spaz. Well, then I'll wrap it up here. But that's it. We're here every Sunday night on College Football After Dark here on the main channel. And then every Tuesday, starting this Tuesday, Spaz and I, as well as our other guy, Sean and Derek, will be hosting the Oregon Weekly Show coming Tuesday nights. Most likely it should be about 9 to 10 Eastern. We're still setting that specific time, but right about that time. And then we will be doing every weekend the post-game show for the Oregon Ducks also. So make sure to tune us in here. And then you can check me out here on YouTube at Exploring with Ben and Sam, as well as on Twitter there at Exploring with Ben. I'm everywhere, and nothing much takes traction, but I try. So once again, thank you to everyone in the chat, the panel here as always, and we will see you guys next Sunday night. And once again, Mark's not watching, so just to piss him off, we're going to leave out with this overlay. Have a good one, everyone. We'll see you next Sunday night. He didn't even buy me a cheeseburger.
He wants his cheeseburger, Mark.
It was